Yeah. So got a very special guest today. Could you do me a favor and introduce yourself?
What's good, everybody? My name is Chris Delfos, also known as Trouble. I'm from the LA area, Hawthorne to be exact. And, I'm honored to be on the homie show. You know what I mean? Anything that, he wants to go over or whatever. It's all good. Here I am. You know what I mean? Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, appreciate that, G. So I want to start towards the beginning. If I could ask, what was it that drove you to like the gangster lifestyle?
Man. Well, I was born in the 70s. Kind of grew up in the 80s. And there was a big turnaround in that time with gangs. I ran the streets as a youngster, having like problems at home with my pops or whatever. My mom lives in another state. So for me, it was just kind of running around. I was always drawn to the darker side of things, the hooligans and the vandals and whatnot, the rebels, you know what I'm saying? I'm like a natural born rebel myself. And so I was always out there intrigued by graffiti. And then I started getting into that, started getting into pop locking and breakdancing on the corners or whatever. And then at the time, in the 80s, things were elevating. Gangs were becoming more known, more prominent in LA. But what really gave it the exposure was like the movies and the music, Ice-T, Eazy-E, the movie Colors, Boulevard Nights, and then, eventually Blood In, Blood Out and all that. And so it kind of had, it was intriguing to me because when I ran the streets, I kind of went that way. When I started running away when I was about 9 years old, staying out a couple of days at a time. And then next thing you know, I was gone for a couple of weeks at a time. So then my dad, and he had another wife after my stepmom, and I had two little baby brothers at the time. And so we ended up moving. I want to say that was about 87. We moved to the South Bay side of LA, over there by LAX area. So from that, I started getting more acquainted with people who were out there on the streets. When I would go outside, I would see people pull up in lowriders and I just like graffiti on the wall, and I would just see it was a different style because I was into like graffiti art, like more or less tagging or bombing or throwing up like characters. But then when I saw the graffiti on the wall and people were doing Old English letters, and it was just like crossing each other out, calling each other out, it kind of, I was drawn to it because and me being a rebel and me being kind of intrigued by all that. And then before that I used to play sports, and so I was in a basketball and football. I was always real bigger than my peers and athletic. When I played football, I liked to hit. I like to get hit. I would get hit. It would make me stronger. You know what I mean? And so by the football aspect, I learned like team. I learned like colors. I learned logos. You got the logo on the side of the helmet. You represented for a city. And for me, that kind of took over. I went to Juvenile Hall as a youngster because, like I said, I was running away. And I was out there, fending for myself, and I would steal from stores, trying to get clothes and whatever. And then I got caught. So when I got caught and I went to Juvenile Hall, then everything just opened up to me because then I met other people from all over different neighborhoods, and they had their little tats and they had their nicknames, and they call me this and that from here and there. And they would ask me where I'm from, and I didn't have an answer. I'm like, man, I'm just me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I got tested. They wanted to fight, so I would fight with them, but I was always a fighter. I was, good with the hands. And so when they would, I would fight each other, and the pride and the dedication that they had. And it reminded me of like when I played football. It's just that it was a whole nother sport. So all those things combined with the music, the graffiti, the colors, the lifestyle, the rebelliousness, the kind of breaking the rules. And then when I went to jail and Juvenile Hall, was in East Lake. I started off in Unit O, man. I was like 11 when I first went in there.
Damn.
And, girl side A, B, C, D. Then I went all over to TV, ended up in KL, all those like Juvenile, all those units in Central. I went to Silmar, I went to LP, all that. I even went to camp. I went to Camp Kilpatrick when I was 13, and so I got a real like fix on just gangs. I would see them hitting up on everywhere and just hitting up each other. They would come with tattoos, you know, had back arm tattoos, had forearm tattoos. Nobody really had face and neck tattoos back then. No, you know, we didn't start shaving our heads that, you know, that wasn't until the mid 90s, early to mid 90s when that happened. But just seeing like how people would, the dedication, seeing how they would stand up for themselves and be like, nah, I'm from here. And what, you know, what do you want to do? And to me, it was just kind of it was empowering for me, you know. A lot of people have their different stories of how they got into gangs. You know, a lot of people grew up in certain neighborhoods. They went outside. That's all they saw. Some people had family members who were already kind of set in that way, and they kind of just, you know, fell in line and followed suit. For me, it was different. You know, my dad's not even from here. He's from an island, Jamaica, in the Caribbean, you know. So when he had me, he had only been here 4 or 5 years. So he didn't really know the ways of LA and know the streets. So when I started getting into it, he didn't really understand what I was doing. You know what I mean? And so me and him having our little issues or whatever, you know, he wouldn't put hands on me, but he would, you know what I'm saying? He would use discipline on me, and you know, it made me angry. So I was an angry child. I wanted to fight everybody, and so being in the gang just kind of gave me a reason to fight, really. You know, it wasn't so much that I needed to run in a pack, but more of like I wanted another reason to fight, and people wanted, you know, a reason to fight me. So it kind of just clicked like that, man. Growing up in that neighborhood, where I was, there was different people from different gangs on the street on my block, and you know, some of them got along, some of them didn't. And then so when it would go down, you know what I'm saying, we would just kind of fight and drop dogs, and people be like, oh, this and that, I'm from here and there. And I just, man, I didn't want to be myself anymore. I didn't want to be part of my family that I came from, because I wasn't really tight with them at the time. So I was looking for like another family. You know, like I said, my dad's Jamaican, but my mom, she's Hispanic. She's, you know, Spanish and Native American. And so I was drawn more to Hispanic gangs, and those are, I felt like those are like more my people. I was more like them, instead of going home. And then my dad, he married, you know, he remarried a black woman the second time. So I was kind of, you know, like an outcast in my own home. You know what I mean? I didn't look like them. I didn't sound like them. So I was drawn to the streets for different reasons. And then once I got there, it was just full force, man. I just went all in, and I didn't stop, man. You know what I'm saying? I just want to fight everybody and hit up on everything and make myself known. You know what I'm saying? It kind of went from there, man. That was like in the early 80s, but it really kicked off for me like 1990.
Damn.
You know what I mean? That's when I became trouble, and I just kind of kicked it into a whole nother gear.
Oh, yeah. Let me ask, when it came to that family dynamic, do you think a lot of that pain and that anger had to do with the fact that, I know you said that you did talk about your father, you know, being kind of strict with you. You guys really didn't connect too well. But did also your mom, your jefa, not being in the picture, did that kind of add to it too, to that pain?
Oh, definitely. You know how if you hear, you know, somebody's kind of angry and somebody says, oh, you weren't hugged enough as a child, that's real. It's real psychology. It's a joke. They say it jokingly, but it was, you know, not having a mom. While the dads are known for setting guidelines and more of the discipline and more of like teaching you how to, you know, especially for a boy, teaching you how to go about things. And, you know, when you first get some little prickle on your face, teach you how to shave. You know what I'm saying? Just teaching you all the things of how to hold yourself down and accountable, discipline, and those things. But the mom is the nurturer. She's the one that, regardless of what's going on, she's going to put you under the wing, let you know it's going to be okay. She's going to cook for you, make sure you're fed, make sure your well-being is all good. And that goes for your head too and your heart, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't have that. I had a long distance relationship with my mom. I would talk to her on the phone sometimes. She would send me packages like every Easter, every Christmas, whatever it was. I got little packages from her with, you know what I'm saying, goodies in there or whatever, but it's not the same having my mom there, you know what I'm saying? So I went a long time without having my mom, and of course that made me more angry. And I saw other friends and other people where they had their moms and they, you know what I'm saying, like, oh, my mom's is cooking up something or whatever's going on. You know, they would hug their mom and then hit the door and we would go out and whatever. But then at the end of the day, they would go home to their mom and I didn't have that to go home to. So I was missing that. And then definitely with my dad, you know, he was always busy. And then when he was around me, I was usually, you know, kind of upsetting him because I had, you know, I started thinking real young, real cerebral, started thinking on my own, and I kind of started rebelling. So he tried to kind of keep me in line by disciplining me. And so I had the discipline without the nurture, and that just made me angry, you know what I'm saying? And then I was a kind of a bigger kid, and my dad's big, you know, so him disciplining me, I would hit the streets, and then, you know, I'm like, you know, what, you know, face to face with somebody, I'm like, what are you gonna do to me? My dad's big, like I had no fear, like I was always ready to go, you know. And then at the end of the day, like I said, I didn't have my mom to come and be like, it's gonna be all right. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be like that. You know, so both parents, you know, they play a part in a lot of, you know, the decisions that we make, especially when we're left alone a lot. Like I was a latchkey kid. I would have the little key around my neck, and at the end of the day, you know, school, I would come and let myself in, and I'd be right there, just kind of on my own, you know, playing video games. And that would get old. I want to hit the streets. So I would go out, skateboard, hit the bikes, you know, ride the bikes, the BMS bikes, whatever, the, you know, the dynos, the PK rippers. I was in the bikes back then, you know, the dynos, all those red lines, you know what I'm saying? So that was my thing. But, you know, it just allowed me to go and see stuff. And like I said, I was intrigued by the walls and what everybody else was doing. And so not having the mom, you know, the discipline from my dad, I didn't understand it because I felt like I was getting the discipline without the guidance. You know what I'm saying? It has to be a balance of both.
Like I got the lessons behind it. Like, this is what's happening. This is why it's happening.
Yeah, this is why you're in trouble. This is why you shouldn't be doing that, instead of just like, because I said so, because that's my way, kind of dictatorship. And my dad was like that, but he was raised like that too. So at the same time, it just kind of falls in line. And I had to learn that later and understand that, but it took me a while. Not until I went through it did I know this, you know. And I could tell you this now, but at the time I had no idea. I was just out there living it, doing it. I was an angry child. You know, I grew up an angry person, you know what I'm saying? And I still, you know, struggle with that now, like having a kind of a short temper and just like, nah, it ain't even that serious, you know what I mean?
Damn. So you said you started going to jail pretty early on. You went to juvenile halls, you went to camp. How old were you when you went to YA, and were you already banging at that time?
Oh yeah. So when I went to camp, I went to first I went to Camp Kilpatrick up in Malibu. That's the place where they filmed the what is that called? The Gridiron Gang. Yeah, with The Rock. I was there during the time when they had that football team going on, and I actually went there because I played sports, but I was too young. I wasn't high school age yet, so I had to go to what they call the fuck up dorm, and that's where I learned how to, you know, all about gangs and whatever. And I wasn't from anywhere yet. But then when I got out, I kind of searched and seeked that, you know, and the guys that I knew, I had a friend, and his older sister was with some dude that's from my hood that I'm from, you know, that I ended up being from. You know, so that was kind of my introduction to that, because I didn't really know. You can't just walk up to a neighborhood and be like, "What's up?" Like I'm in, or I want to be down. Like they kind of have to invite you in. You know what I'm saying? Unless you live there and then you make the decision like I'm with it. But so I kind of had to hang around and see what's going on, and finally I got invited in. And then when I got invited in, for, you know, a couple of times hanging around with them, I saw they were having problems with other dudes, so their problems became my problems. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of, I felt like I was part of that because it happened to me as well. Like people shooting at us, people banging, you know what I'm saying, well, this and this and this. Now all of a sudden they're talking to me too. So it gave me a sense of pride, like, nah, what's up? Like they want problems, we don't give them problems. And then I guess by them seeing that in me, they were like, oh, you know, they recruited me basically. They're like, we need you on our team. I was like a first round draft pick, you know what I'm saying? They were like, nah, we need you. Because I was ready to go. I was already primed. I didn't have to come in and get trained and primed and groomed into it. Like I stepped into it like, what's up, dude? You know, like, what are we doing now? They want problems, let's give it to them, kind of thing.
Let me ask real quick, how did that feel being needed? Like you said, they need you, because I know with the what you said with your your life at home, you kind of felt like the outsider. You mean, and then your mom had a long distance relationship with her. With these group of guys, they needed you there. How did that feel?
I mean, I'm not gonna say they needed me. Like without me, they weren't anything. But at the same time, when they saw me, they were like, "Yeah, we want you on our team." You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
more or less like I was. If you think about it in sports, sports is a great analogy for life. Period. And if you look at it, I was like a free agent, ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
And and instead of letting them, letting me maybe get into another team, another, you know what I'm saying, gang, they wanted me for themselves. So yeah, they pulled me in, and the need, you know what I'm saying, yeah, felt needed or whatever. But look, at home, it was different because if you can imagine, and this is a common situation, but there's, a parent, a single parent, and then they get another situation, and then they end up, tying the knot with someone else. And all of a sudden, you're kind of on the outside because you're not part of their union. And then they ended up having two kids, my two little brothers, and they were small. Like the age gap between my next brother is like 8 years. My
mm,
mom had one 7 years later. So I was already 7, 8, 9, 10. And my little brothers weren't really allowed to play with me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
They weren't really allowed to hang out with me. So I was kind of on the outside looking in, and I felt like it was better for me to just move on. So it was a combination of my family. I'm not going to say they pushed me away, but at the same time, I was kind of left on the outside, not looking like them, not, sounding like them, not fitting in, and then them having it, their own little union without me. I just felt like it was better for me to move on and figure it out on my own. The only thing is, I happened to, instead of 18, I happened to do that at 14.
yeah.
And when I hit the streets at 14, that was for good. And when I got into my gang, that was for good. I didn't go to the streets and bang and then go home at night and then live a home life. I went to the streets and stayed on the streets. I slept on the streets. I slept in laundry rooms. I slept in cars, and then I ended up sleeping in homies' houses and homegirls' houses. And then I got kind of adopted by them, where they're like, "No, you ain't gonna be out there. You're gonna be right here with us." And the way that I was always like down with the business, if you know what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, that kind of impressed them in a way. They were like, no, they wanted to hold me close, you know what I'm saying? And so I ended up going back to camp and juvenile hall camp. And now I had something like a pride. It gave me pride, like, yeah, I'm from here, I'm from there, whatever. Um, and then, it kind of gave me like a stance. It gave me like a title. I no longer answered to my name, which was my family name, which I didn't want to be associated with anymore. So I was known as Trouble from then on. And then I went to camp, and then anybody that had problems, I would give them problems, and meeting enemies I didn't even know I had, but I welcomed
Yeah.
every fade, every squab, every whatever, like we got down, So I ended up going to camp. I hit all the juvenile halls, as I mentioned, and then I hit other camps. I went to Challenger, Camp Holton, went back to Challenger. I actually AWOL from Holton because I know you wanted to know about why. I'm gonna get to that, but in camp, when I was in Camp Holton, they had an agreement with my mom. They were going to send me out of state to go live with
Mm,
my mom in Colorado. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then, so I talked to my mom, and she was like, "You're going to come stay with me, and it's about time you come back home." But the thing is that by that time, I was already too gone. I was already too involved in the streets. Yeah, I was only 15, but my mind was already set. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? On the streets, like I already had tattoos. I already had, man, I had already took lumps for the hood. I shed blood. I drew blood from others. Like
And
I was
not only
already all
that too,
in.
you have like that's your family now. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
my family.
yeah,
So therefore, when they I kind of felt like when they called on me, I was there, or when I called upon them, they were there, kind of thing. And at the same time, it's not how it is now. Now it's different. Now the internet and all the drugs and all things are going on. But back then, we didn't have all that. All we had was each other. And it even wasn't about the gun violence, like shooting, all that. We like my generation, our generation, we really kicked that up to another notch. But when I first got in, we were just from the shoulders, man. We would meet up and just squab. We would see somebody at the mall or somebody at the bus stop, and we'd be squabbing. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was about. I didn't really start picking up guns or whatever until they were shooting at me. I'm like, okay, well, we go to the next level, because I was a warrior, a soldier. So
yeah,
whatever they wanted to, whatever level of playing field they wanted, I would give it to them. But overall, it was really about the squabs, because when you go in jail, when you're in juvenile hall camp, and then which I'm gonna get to, like, you don't have your homies there with you, so it's just you. You might run into a couple of homies, but you don't have your whole hood. You're
yeah.
not in the comfort zone of your hood. You know, like my hood was like a heart of my hood. We kicked it on a dead end. So anybody that came in there, they, you know, they might not make it out, kind of thing. You know,
Yeah, you saw them coming too.
Yeah, you see them coming. You know, they're whistling from down the block. Let them come in. We surround them. I mean, it was one of those like death trap kind of things. You know, other hoods, they have their ways. You know, they got people up and down. You know, monitoring whatever. But when you're in jail, you don't have weapons like that. I mean, you can file a weapon down, you could pick something up, but you don't got guns. You don't got to worry about getting blasted, or you don't, you know what I'm saying, blasting somebody else. You come from the shoulders. You see what you're really made of. And that's where I knew I was made of, because I would fight, man. I was with it, you know. So anyways, back to the Holton thing. My mom was like, "You're gonna come live with me, and we're gonna be good." And I told her okay, but in my head, I'm like, I knew I wasn't going over there, and I had to find a way out of it. Just so happened that because I was getting out within like I want to say 60 days, they had this program where they would take you to like a college campus and try to get you prepared, because we were in, you know, high school age. I was 15 or 15, 16, 17. They want to prepare you for life after high school, trying to get you like into college and then get you a little career, you know what I'm saying, after that. So they try to set us up for success. But I was really too involved. So anyways, when they decided to take us to UCLA, you know, so it was like they put us on a shuttle bus and drove, I don't know, it was about 10, 12 of us. I don't remember exactly, but they took us to UCLA, showed us the campus, you know, saw the basketball court where I had seen, you know, with my dad. You know, my dad was sports also. I used to watch UCLA basketball play. And so I was like, man, this is what's up right here. But I needed to figure out a way. Like my whole thing was that I wasn't going back.
Yeah.
And so we went into the library, and I kind of wandered off like I was looking for some books or whatever. I ended up hitting the back door, and it was he was a homie from 18th Street right there, Sabu. I don't know what happened to him, but he was there, and he was like, "What's up? You leaving?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Fuck it, I'm going with you." I was like, "Come on, let's go." You know what I mean? Don't slow me down though. You know what I mean? And we ended up hitting up a bus stop, and he asked some lady. She was like a little maybe like a housemaid, you know what I'm saying? And she spoke Spanish, and he asked her for some change so we can get home, because we were stuck. And she gave us some bus fare. Bus was only like 50 cents at the time. She gave us like $1 or whatever. I think $1.50. We got transfers, you know, we split ways, and I went to my hood, he went to his hood. And when I got there, you know, I lasted, you know, about a week, and then I got caught up. I went back to camp. They took me straight to camp. They didn't even take me to juvenile hall. Like I spent one night, and they were like, "You going back to camp?" They took me to Camp Smith in Challenger. Yeah. And everybody there had a YA stay. It was like the last straw for everybody. That was my 6th camp by that time. So
damn.
You know what I mean? They were like, if you fuck up here, you're going to YA. People were already going to YA from there. But I happened to make it out. So I made it out, I got released, I got out there. I didn't slow down. I actually, you know, hit it into another gear. You know, when I was out there, and I used to slang dope. My hood was also known for selling crack. So I learned how to sell drugs real young, and learned the whole money game and the game of business, and how to push product, and the game of sales, the numbers, how to flip, you know, ounces to pounds to whatever, you know what I mean, and moved up. And one day I was out there, me and my boy, we were out there serving, and you know, I went to go get a little from my stash. I had like a Haida key. You remember the Haida key things?
Yeah.
With the little magnet on it. And I used to have some cookie rocks in there, and I was out there going through my stash trying to find a good, you know, a couple, you know, because I would hold a couple and then I would stash the rest. I wouldn't get caught. I didn't want to get caught with you know, a pocket full of stones, you know, so I would stash them. But I was over there going through like, okay, I'm going to pick this one. Now, what my boy was supposed to be keeping point, he was over there taking a piss, and we were getting watched by the sheriffs. And so they jumped out on us, and then, you know, I tried to, you know, put the Haida key back, and that shit fell because the top of the dumpster was plastic instead of metal. So it kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And they heard it fall. They thought it was a gun. So they ran up on me, get the fuck down, you know, and they saw it was dope, and they're like, okay, we got you, you know. But at the time, I was 16, and I told them I was an adult. And let me go back a little bit. Let me tell you a story. When I was 15, I got caught riding on a bus bench. I was sitting there waiting for the bus, and I was just hitting up on the bus bench, you know, trouble, whatever. And the cops just pulled up on me, and I was by myself, so they pulled up. And they were like, "What are you doing, you dummy," or whatever. And then I was like, fuck. So they took me in, you know what I mean? And I told them, because I was 15, but I was a runaway. I had been in camp, juvenile probation, whatever. So I got schooled by an older homie, like, tell him you're an adult, man. That, you know what I'm saying? You'll get out. If it's for some, you know, whatever petty shit, you'll get out. So I ended up telling him that I was 18. I just added 3 years to my birthday. Had a fake name. It was actually a brother of some girl that I went to school with. So I used her brother's name with my fake, my real birthday, but added 3 years. And I ended up going to the county jail. And when I went to the county jail, I did a little, you know, a couple weeks in there, and I got schooled by some, you know, I'd already had tattoos and I was big, so I kind of fit in. You know, they thought I was 18. I didn't want to give myself up. So I was 15, wandering around in the county jail, 3,000 floor, 2,000 floor. I went up to the 9,500. That was like a whole town in itself. You know, you walk in there and it's crazy. You got the homies on this side, you know, the blacks, a couple white dudes. You know, they didn't get treated so well, but you know, some of them had been regulars. They had been in the pen, so they knew what was up. But you know, the essays was deep, as they say, you know, and we were in there kind of running the thing, and the blacks had their thing. And I kind of, you know, in there is different because in juvenile hall and camp, you go in there, first thing, like, where you from? Motherfuckers looking for, like, they want to fight. That's the first thing they want to do. If you're an enemy, we're going to get down. Either they rush you on site, you rush them on site, or you guys find somewhere to go. But in the county, it's different because you walk in there like, all right, you know, what's up, what's going on? What do you need? You know, people are kicking you down with stuff. If you ain't got it, they trying to hook you up. So I kind of got understanding of how it was in the system as an adult, starting at 15 years old. So I had to mature real young. Like, I left home at 14, went to the county jail at 15. So then fast forward to when I was 16, back to that, when they caught me with the dope, that story. When I got arrested for that, I gave the same name, fake name, fake, you know, the whole alias, and not realizing that I had a warrant from a year ago because I didn't go to court, you know what I'm saying? Because that wasn't really me. So I'm like, I'm not going to go to court if I don't have to. So I just kind of forgot about it. And then, but then ended up catching up to me. So now not only am I in there for that, but I'm in there for the graffiti and a warrant. And so when I went to court, you know, I went to court, and then I ended up making a phone call, and you know, I ended up telling my pops, like, yeah, I'm in here, this and this and this, and he was like, he told his wife, and his wife came down to the court, and she brought my birth certificate and told him that I was only, you know, saying 16. Damn. And I didn't ask him to do that. I was kind of, like I said, I was on my own, but I guess they thought they were helping me, and excuse me, and you know what I'm saying. So I went from the county jail to juvenile hall. They put me on a bus, and they had to get me up out of there. Like, man, this is like.
How did they feel? Like, I was gonna ask, like, were they like, oh shit, like, we fucked up, like, he shouldn't be here?
Yeah, because they felt like I was a liability if something happened to me and so on. So they had to rush me up out of there. So I ended up going to Central, from Men's Central Jail to Central Juvenile Hall, and but then I would go to court from Central Juvenile Hall back to adult court. You know what I'm saying? So I would go to adult court as a juvenile until they finally transferred my stuff to the juvenile court. And then when I went to juvenile, they were just tired of me. I had already been to 6 camps. You know, I had already been to the county jail twice. You know what I'm saying? They were like, you going to YA. So I already kind of figured that was it. They couldn't send me anywhere else. There's nowhere else in between. So
you don't make the jump from because it's not like YA, because in YA you could go from the joint back to YA. It's not like you can't do that to camp. You can't go to the county jail and then go back to camp. You know what I mean?
No, they're not gonna let you do that. So they were on me. And then, so this was in 92. I want to say around November 92. And then that's when I ended up going to YA like in end of November, early December. I ended up in Norwalk SRCC. And you know what I'm saying? So I walked up in there. That was a little different because it's kind of like camp, but on steroids. You know what I'm saying? Everybody there is, you know what I'm saying, they're all with the business. Everybody want to fight. Everybody want to, you know what I'm saying, want to be with it. So I walked up in there, but I felt like good, like this is gladiator school. And I already kind of got, you know, schooled up on how it was going to be in there. And I thought it was going to be a little worse. You know what I'm saying? Like I was going to go up in there and just have to just chunk them right off the bus.
Like I jumped and shit.
Yeah, like I thought, you know, I was going to have enemies right there and they're just going to want to try to get at me from all sides or whatever. But I went up in there like, okay. And like I said, I was always a big dude. Like I'm 6'4", like 220 right now. And my biggest, I was like 6'4", 235. But when I was 16, I was already 6'2", 6'3", going to YA. So I was big already. So when I went in there, you know, they wanted to send me to the youngster cottage, you know what I'm saying, where the youngsters went. But when I went in there, they were like, nah, you too big. You can't go in there. So I think that was Cabrillo, I
Yeah,
want to say.
Cabrillo.
Well, right when you walk in, and it's the first one on the left.
Yeah.
And so they walked me down to the last one on the left, which was Portola. So I ended up in Portola. And, you know, I stayed there for, you know, however long. You know, saying I had a couple cellies right there. And then I remember, you know, I got schooled also in county jail about, you know, segregation and how the homies with the homies and the blacks with the blacks, and we don't share. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're cool with them, but we don't share things, you know, food and a commissary. We don't do any of that. Hygiene items, you know, things that you consume, that you eat, things that are open, you know, you just don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can, if you guys need someone, you know, somebody, you slide them a soup, you know, whatever it is. But if it's open, you kind of just stick to your own, you know what I'm saying? And so I learned that in the county jail. When I went to YA, you know, it's still on a juvenile program. And so when I went in there, they ended up, I was in a cell, and I had a cellie that left. He had already went to wherever he was going. And they brought a Crip in my cell, black dude. And he was from 9-0 Crip. And, you know, like I said, I come from I'm mixed, you know what I'm saying? And my dad's Jamaican, and you know what I'm saying? I grew up with, you know, with black family members. So I'm not with that, like, just because people are different, like, that's not me. But at the same time, there's political reasons, and there's, you know what I'm saying, all the cultural reasons of why people are not supposed to mix. But in YA, they kind of just throw you, especially I don't know how it is now, but back then they kind of just threw you together.
Yeah.
And so we kind of stood our ground and was like, what's up? He ended up being cool. And me and him used to, you know, we had our boundaries, and I was kind of teaching him about how it was in the county. Like, when you get to the county, like, your homies are going to let you know too, like, you're not supposed to mingle, share with us, or be up in our space, and we're not supposed to be up in, like, your tables and your spots and whatever. It kind of, it keeps everything cultural, you know, so it keeps everybody with their people. And it's better for you, like, that's your community. And so me and him kind of, we established boundaries and kind of respected that. And the only thing we used to do is work out together. We used to do up and down, push-up, burpees. So we would do, like, you know, the playing cards, and we'll flip the card, and you get a jack, you do 10 diamonds, or, you know, you do the wide hearts, and you do 7s and 3s and whatever. And we would do the whole deck. Me and him were both just in there getting our buff on, you know what I'm saying? And then we were cool, you know what I'm saying? You know, one day we ended up getting into a little bit, but it wasn't nothing bad. Me and him left on good terms, you know what I'm saying? And then I got another celly and another homie from Diamond, and I knew some of them. So, I mean, it was kind of cool. Like, it was different. I went from, you know, juvenile hall camp to the county to YA, but in my head, I was already schooled. So I acted different. So a lot of people kind of looked up at me because I was bigger, and my mind was a little bit more advanced in the system, I want to say.
Yeah.
And they would kind of hit me up like, oh, that's, you know, what's going on. And I, you know, I kept my cool. Like, I was in there. I'm not a hothead. I mean, you know, I get angry or whatever. I want to fight, but I'm not a torpedo. I'm not a hot missile. You know what I'm saying? I kind of, you know, kind of keep my composure. A lot of people catch on to that. And so, you know, they kind of look up to that. And then anyways, I ended up going to board, and then I got my time.
How long did they give you a board?
Well, what it was is, okay, so let me tell you what happened. I told you I got caught with that dope. And I had got schooled by somebody in the county jail, matter of fact, and they were like, look, tell them that it's yours. Tell them that you do drugs, not that you were selling it, because they didn't actually catch you selling it. In order for them to get you for sales, they have to see you exchange money for dope, or you have to do it with, like, an undercover, or you have to have a certain amount that equals intent to distribute, you know, intent to sell. And I didn't have that. I had a couple, you know, it was like a little bit in there. And so it wasn't enough for them to really do all that. So what I ended up doing was telling them that it was my personal use. And I told them that I saw somebody else stash it there, and I went to go raid their stash when they weren't looking, and I was trying to steal their dope. And so what they ended up doing was giving me a drug program. So a drug program is, like we were talking about before off camera, Prop 36 or whatever. The drug program gives you the opportunity to go through a drug treatment program instead of, you know, as criminal charges with sales. So, so in YA, they ended up giving me a drug program, right? So I was supposed to do a 9-month drug program, see how it went, and then if everything was good, I was supposed to get out in a year. You know what I'm saying? So I was only supposed to be in there for like a year. And so I ended up going to, they threw me on a bus, and we headed out to Nellis. And I was happy with that because that's in the backyard, you know, it's right there in Whittier. It's closed down now. But at the time, I was like, this is the closest YA, you know, that you can be in, aside from YTS, but I wasn't 18 yet. You know, I was only 16. So got to Nellis, and first day I was there, they didn't want me there. I was just a bigger kid, and they just like, nah, we're gonna send you up to Paso Robles. So I ended up getting back on the bus, and I ended up going up to Paso Robles, which is about 4 hours up north from LA.
Damn,
you know
did you go on a bus or a van up there?
Oh man, I remember going on a van.
Also,
it was a van, and it was at night. Once you get off the freeway, I want to say it's another like hour and a half of just plain, just straight darkness, you know. And so when we pulled up, it was just kind of, it was only a few of us, a handful of us. When we pulled up, it was kind of crazy. It was just thinking the whole time, like, what's this gonna be like? You know, now I'm going to the real one, not the reception anymore, but the real one. So what's it gonna be like? And I'm thinking, okay, am I gonna have to get off and get off right away when I get there? I didn't know what it was gonna be like, so I was on my toes. And I got there and kind of just went through the motions, you know what I'm saying? You know, and kind of went from there. You know, it was all good. I didn't really have any homies up there or anything, so I was kind of on my own with that. But I knew some people. I knew people that were in camp with me and Juvenile. I mean, when you go back and forth so much, you know all kinds of people. So when you get to a new place, there's more likely somebody that you're gonna know up there. And I knew a few heads up there already. You know what I mean? So that was how I got into YA. I was 16. It was in '92. I had a 6'6" number at that time, and then so when I got to Paso Robles, I went through the reception center. I hit up on everything. It was a brand new building, so they ended up taxing me for a whole bunch of money. You know, I had like restitution because I would write my name on everything, man. I had that graffiti problem, you know what I'm saying, where I wanted to kind of get down with everything. And so then they ended up sending me to a drug program, which was Los Osos West in Paso Robles. Yeah. And so that was kind of more laid back. It wasn't considered mainline. It was more like almost like a programming cottage. You know, so we had a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more freedom, I would say. And then in YA, they had weights. We used to play handball, basketball. Like, oh shit, it was on and cracking. We would be able to buy our own store.
Let me ask, because most of the cats that I came on are about my age or maybe a little older. So nobody really, maybe two guys that I talked to before were there around that time. How was it? Like, how were the weights set up? Was it just you just hit the yard, like the little? Because I know in YA there's smaller yards. You know what I mean? So were just out there, or were they? Did you guys have to go to? Were they in the dorm? I mean, the day room, or how was that set up?
No, the weights were outside. So you go out the back door, and then I remember right to the left they had the handball courts, and on the other side of that they had a little weight bench. And I remember the weights were kind of welded on, so it's like you had what you had, you know. Yeah. And they didn't really have. It wasn't like free weights, but they had bench weights. They had the you know, the hammer curl bar, the curl bars, whatever, and it was kind of welded on. You could either hit it or you couldn't, you know. And
how did that work? How did that work with like you guys figuring out who's gonna lift at what time? Like,
what do you mean as far as like cultures?
Yeah, like that, like do the or even more. I want to know too, like if you could add on to it, like do like punk ass fools, like or what do they call it, levas? Would they be able to lift? Like how would that work?
They're not. Levas weren't able to do anything. And a lot of times levas would get packed out and sent on somewhere else. So when it depends on what they were dropped leva for, you know what I'm saying? If it was something stupid, they just get on the shine for a couple of days, a week, whatever, and then people are like, all right, you know, you all right again. But a lot of times if they ended up doing shit that was against the rules, like in YA just has so much petty shit, you know. But it was, I mean, a lot of it was kind of important. Like for instance, I got this water bottle, and so if I take this water bottle off and I drop the cap, if it landed this way with the mouthpiece down, you couldn't use it no more. It was no good. The floor is leva, but if it lands upward, like, you know, this way where it's tops up, then you're good. But people would watch you. They would watch and they would look and like, oh, how did your cap fall? Or how did, you
Yeah.
know, the floor was like hot lava. Anything that fell on the floor, it was no good. And people were like, fuck that, I'm using this. If you were in the shower and you dropped your soap in the shower, you picked it up, started using it, people were watching, they're like, okay. And as soon as they got the chance, motherfuckers would didn't like you, pack you up and send you on your way. You know what I'm saying? So YA was real like make it or break it. You know what I'm saying? They make you or break you kind of thing. But I mean, it was all good. I was up for every challenge, and I kind of took on whatever came at me, and I was like, you know, if you want to fight, we could fight, whatever you want to do. So since I was always ready to fight, you know, it was, I mean, I kind of went with the rules, you know what I'm saying? Went with the discipline. I kind of understood it, you know, like how certain things are good for you. Obviously, if your cap falls on the floor, then that's dirty. You can't put it back on your bottle and then drink out of it, because then and then you offer it to somebody else. Like, that's just a hygienical thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to take care of yourself. You got to keep the pack kind of clean and in order. So some of it seemed kind of outrageous and petty at the time, but at the same time, you know, there was reasons behind it. And so to answer your question about the weights, like people that were no good or people that were just kind of leva or lame or whatever, they didn't do anything. They just sat in the corner and it was kind of like a countdown of when their time was going to come, when somebody wanted to just get rid of them.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So they didn't play basketball, they didn't play handball, they didn't lift weights or nothing. They kind of just sat in the corner.
Damn.
You know? So that was about it. But it was crazy, man, the way the showers were set up, you know, and you can't show your ass. Like, you got to cover your ass when you're walking around. If you, like, when you're naked and you dress down to go jump in the shower, you had to like walk with your hand covering your ass crack. Yeah. So that was going on when I was there, man. It was just kind of a thing, you know. And then we ended up having a little racial riot because two people ended up having a problem. I don't even remember what the problem originated for, but the dude on our side, the homie, he was a knucklehead. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to go through the procedures of like, okay, let's see if they're gonna handle their own homie and discipline their own, and then we would handle our own kind of thing. Because you don't really get into that until you get to the prison as an adult, you know. But in YA, like, those are knuckleheads, man. They call them YA babies, you know, and people are just high-headed, and they just like, fuck that. I want to do this shit now. No patience, no discipline. And so he got up and wanted to handle his own business. In the middle of the night, he walked up to go to the bathroom. He ended up packing some black dude, you know what I'm saying? And so he jumped up, and then everybody jumped up, and we kind of just went at it. And even though the homie was kind of in the wrong, you know, we handle our own. You know, like we were talking off camera, like, we got to handle our own. We got to back up our own first, and then we handle the discipline later of whoever was wrong, you know. But at the time, we can't just throw them to the sharks and say, too bad. You know, we kind of have to handle our business too. And so it kind of went from there. But at the same time, I was ready to fight. Just gave me another reason to fight. And then when they came in, everybody was getting down. But me, I'm a knucklehead, so I was still squabbing, still standing up, trying to get it in. And I ended up getting shot in the leg with a block gun.
Oh,
a piece of wood hit me in the leg. And part of my leg I can't feel to this day, because it hit me like right above the knee in like a nerve, and it caused a little damage, you know. And so we ended up going to what they call Gym TD. Maybe some people that were in Paso Robles will know about this, but in Gym TD, TD means temporary detention, you know. So Gym TD was like, they opened up this gym. It's a basketball gym, brick building, and they sent you in there, and they would lay you down on the ground and have you in your boxers and handcuffs. They would open the door. It was cold as fucking out there, you know, in the middle of wherever we were, Paso Robles. And at night they would have it, and the cold would just creep across the cold floor and just fuck with you, man. And then they wanted to know who started it, who was involved. So then they would start picking people up and take you in this office and asking you questions and kind of interrogation, and then they would put you back. And then after a day of that, they would start releasing people. So then people would think like, oh, you telling because you're getting released? And they would do that like on purpose. Some people that were telling were getting released, and some people that weren't saying anything, they were getting released too, because they didn't want to give it away of who the informants were, you know. So people are confused of who's telling, who's not telling, whatever. they ended up keeping me. I was one of the last 4 from our side, and they kept 4 of them. And man, we were on Gym TV for 2 weeks.
Damn.
I remember all the stuff we went through, but it was a lot, man. It was one of the homies he was losing. He was hitting his head on the wall.
Fuck.
So they would get rid of him. They just put a football helmet on him. Go ahead, do your thing.
Damn.
So yeah, I ended up hearing later on that they did some kind of lawsuit. You could probably look it up. But it was like inhumane, and the dudes out there, they called them the squad, the what they call them back then, so I'm thinking of the squad is in prison. Man, I forgot what they called them, but it was basically like it was like the squad. They came in with like geared up, man, and they had the boots on. They had they were like ex-military dudes that came in to give us the discipline. They weren't regular like staff. They weren't none of those, the counselors and none of that. They brought these dudes in specifically for like riot control. And they had their ways, and they, when the I forgot what it was called, maybe the superintendent or it's like a warden for the YA.
Yeah, superintendent.
Superintendent, when he would walk in, they would put the mattresses on the floor next to us so that they think that we were sleeping on the mattresses, but we never slept on the mattress. So for those 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, we were on the floor the whole time. And we would get our sack lunches twice a day, so that they would put the handcuffs in the front. We would sit down and we would have to eat our sack lunch, through the handcuffs. And then once we're done with that, then we would piss or shit, and we had to do it with handcuffs on, and then we go right back to the floor. So it was kind of crazy, you know what I'm saying? And I can see why there was lawsuits and whatever. I never really looked into it, but I heard some heads ended up winning some money because it was like a inhumane kind of disciplinary actions or whatever. So anyways, I was supposed to be there for 9 months, and then ended up getting out of my drug program. But I failed my drug program because I just wasn't a programmer. You know what I'm saying? I would hit up on everything. I would fight. I got into with these dudes. They were banging on me, and so I kind of, I crossed them out. Like in school, everybody goes from all the different places. So in the school books, I was hitting up on my enemies, crossing them out. And I remember I got called out. They were like, "What's this?" And I was like, "You see what's up?" And then I was playing spades one day with one of my partners, and we're right there. They tried to approach me. It was like 3 of them and 4 of them, and they walked up on me. So everybody on my table stood. It was like, "No, you're not gonna jump them." And I was like, "I'll get down with each one of you, one after another. Just let's line it up." So we ended up going to the pool, and they had a little utility room, and I got down one by one. Boom, 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 boom. It was 5 of them, and the last one we almost got caught. And then we went back to the dorm, and so we ended up going in one of the rooms, and then we got caught because we were banging against the lockers or whatever. So, it was just, I ended up getting kicked out of the drug program and going to the main line.
Yeah.
And right there, they used to have like the Madhouse, Moro. They had Nipomo was a nut house. I ended up going to Cayucas, the crazy house. And when I went in there, I was already schooled up. I met up with a homie from Logan Heights, San Diego. And me and him kind of, I don't want to say we were running things, but, we were kind of influential to others.
Yeah.
And so some things that weren't really right, we were trying to square them away, and using, my experience with the county, whatever. I was kind of trying to, school people up, and they ended up dropping a kite on me. Like, nah, this dude's doing too much. So they ended up sending me up to, because I was only 17 at the time, they ended up sending me up to Preston up in Ione, little ass town, you know what I'm saying, outside of Sacramento.
Yeah.
And so we went through there, and we were on the bus going through there, and that little town was like Mayberry, from the Andy Griffin show. It was like tiny, man.
Yeah.
I want to say, I think the police station, the post office were like the same building.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy. So I ended up going in there. But then I ended up programming because I went to school, and I finished school like in a month. Because, in camp and in YA, you don't get summer breaks and all that, Easter. You go year round. So I was just accumulating credits. Boom, boom, boom. So I ended up graduating on time at the end of my 17th year. And then I ended up getting a job. So I had a job there, and it was in a metal shop as a carpenter. Mm-hmm. And so when I went to Preston, it was a whole different thing, because then I got to learn about Northern California, and like people from northern gangs and Bay Area and Sacra and San Jose and Fresno and all, Bulldog and all that. I got to see how people were just different. The way that their mannerisms were different, even though they look like us and also speak Spanish, and they're of Hispanic heritage, of Mexican heritage, native heritage. The mannerisms are way different, you know. And so it was a whole different thing. So when I went up there, the homies, right, they kind of stuck together. We stuck together more because we had a common enemy, which was outside of our realm, you know. So it's kind of like, it's a kind of a trip. But if you think about it, when, you know, I don't know if you have brothers or whatever, but if you're at home and you have a brother, and you and your brother, you guys end up fighting because of whatever competition, whether it's for attention or for whatever it is, you fighting over a video game, whatever, you guys fight, you guys might have beef. But then if you go outside of your home and you run into somebody else that's not your family, now you guys are going to stick together. And now you're going to have beef with them. But then it could be your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? So it could be like your dude across the street. But then if you're with him somewhere, if you see him somewhere and then somebody from another block or another neighbor is messing with him, you might back him up because, like, yeah, that's my neighbor. You can't fuck with him. Only we can have beef, but we're going to back him up. And so it goes. And then if you get somebody from your city and then it's another city or it's whatever, it goes on and on. So you can actually be getting along with, you can have beef with somebody, but then if the circumstances change or the tables change, you end up, you know, kind of sticking together and putting your differences aside for another outside enemy, a common rival. And that's where we were up there. Like, I wasn't really tripping on my enemies anymore, the ones that I knew, like from the streets and from camp and what I knew. It kind of just like, let's put that to the side because we got these dudes. And actually in Preston, they outnumbered us. We were like 3-1, 4-1 at the time. That's their backyard, you know?
Yeah.
And they don't really, from what I remember, they didn't send any Northerners down south, but they sent Southerners up north a lot. Yeah. And so, you know, I ended up getting that experience and learning, you know, and I'm an observer. I'm real attentive. So I would watch how other cultures got along. Like, I would see how even the blacks, they were different, like the Bloods and the Crips and all that from LA, how they were different from like the Bay Area dudes. And it was just a whole different thing, you know? And so while I was there during the Centennial celebration where the castle was 100 years old. Yeah. And so it turned 100 years old in 94 when I was there. And shit, hold up. I think I'm going to lose you. Can we pause this and let me go? Cause I think I might, hold on. Yeah. Oh, no, we're good. We're good. All right. Hello. Hold on. Let me messing up your little thing there. You got me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So what was I saying? So I ended up,
the Centennial.
Anyways, yes. So I was there for the Centennial, and I had a carpenter job, right? So what I would do is I had this lady, she was a boss, and she ended up marrying a dude that worked for her there. He got out and they got married. Oh, shit. So he would kind of look over her of who she hired. And he was a white dude. I want to say he was from like San Bernardino or something, but he, you know, he would tell her, like, you only hire like white boys and homies, like Southern homies, you know. So she never hired anybody outside of that because her dude outside was kind of helping her figure that out, you know. And so I got on the phone with him. He's like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. I didn't smoke weed at the time or whatever, but, you know, if I needed it, it was available, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, but I had like a whole little get down. So I had like my own kitchen, my own refrigerator. I was, in, you know, I had like a real bathroom. So she would come pick me up in the daytime, in the morning, and then I would go back in the afternoon. So I wasn't really there doing time. And in Preston, they have dorms, but because where I came from, and then the kite that they dropped on me, they wanted to have more security on me. So they sent me to where they have cells. So I was a cell living. I was in, there was only two. It was Ironwood and Juniper, and I was in Ironwood. Mm-hmm. And I had a tattoo machine because I was doing tats. I had been doing tats since I started doing tats when I was 14 on myself, actually 13 on myself, and then 14 on the homies. And so I was doing tattoos up there. So I was, you know, getting down in my cell. People would come in or whatever. So I had a tattoo machine in my cell. But I ended up being gone all day. And during the Centennial, I worked a lot because they have a restaurant there that people can come from outside. Oh, shit. And then they could eat. Yeah, they could eat at the restaurant, and inmates would serve them and there'll be waiters or whatever. And so they had a big thing there where they brought people in to celebrate the 100-year Centennial. And so I was working a lot. So while I was gone, the Northerners in my cottage, they moved on the homies right when they were going in the chow hall, and they ended up hurting a couple of them pretty bad. And so from where I was, I had access to certain things like wood and metal. So I kicked a couple homies down with some things, trying to make sure that we could level the playing field because they outnumbered us. So kind of, got them strapped up,
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. Maybe they ended up searching and somebody got caught, and they ended up dropping a kite on me as well there.
Damn.
So they ended up locking me down. But in like a week, I turned 18. The day after I turned 18, I was on a bus out of there. I mean, they didn't want me there no more.
Damn.
So I was like, fuck it, whatever's next, But like I said, I was 18 now. So they took me out. They I saw a counselor, whatever. And they're like, okay, we're gonna send you to YTS. So I was happy. I was like, shit, hell yeah, I'm going. Now this is the home backyard for youngsters, but YTS, you're 18, you go there. That's in prison. And that's in Chino, so that's still backyard of LA.
Yeah.
And so I was happy, you know what I'm saying? And there was a couple of us right there like, are we going to YTS? That's what our boxes said. And then we did a pit stop in Stockton, and they have, what is it?
About OH, Chad.
OH closed,
DeWitt,
right? It's OH
and
closed, DeWitt, Carl Holton, and then Chad. And so we pulled up in Chad, and they're like, if we call your name, you're getting off here. And they ended up calling my name. And I was like, nah, man, my box says YTS. And they're like, nah, but our paperwork says Chad. And they ended up pulling me off and throwing me in Chad. So they didn't want to send me back home. They weren't trying to do me no favors,
Yeah.
And so I ended up staying in Chad. And this was in 94. And so I went to Chad. I was in, I want to say, American. And then I went to, what was it, man? I don't really remember. Because I was there for like 9 months, something like that. But I spent the whole time locked down. And Chad was crazy because it was already established when I got there that fools were just rushing staff and hitting them with TVs, and because they were trying to get to prison. Because from there you go to prison, like you mentioned earlier, you could go to prison and come back.
Yeah.
If you're in Chad or YTS, those are the only two that I knew of that were adult at the time. So they were sending people to DeWitt from YTS. They were saying to Chino, you could come back or whatever, and finish your time in YA up until you're 25. And then that's it. You either get out or they send you to prison.
Yeah.
And so I was only 18 at the time. And I was there with people that had went to prison and came back, and so I was there. So we didn't have any program at all. We weren't even allowed to come out of our cell to eat. They would come around and they would make us lay down on our bunk with our hands down facing the wall, and then they would slide our trays in with the pole. And if we got up, they would, and then our cell, the 280 design cells, they have that long like window in the door, and our doors were covered. They didn't even want us to see out. Like, we were caged animals, like straight up.
Fucked up.
But they would just lift up a flap and they would count us and then move on. The only time we ever saw anybody is when they counted us. We would see other eyes, Other than that, we didn't see anybody. So we were just with our cellies all day. But we were able to have like TVs and radios in our cells, and go have like, we could order stuff off the store and get packages sent in. And I was doing tattoos there too. But we were on the 23-and-1 program. So it's 23 locked down. You get 1 hour, and it was 1 hour every other day.
Damn.
Because we're only required a half an hour a day, I believe. So they would just double it up every other day. They would give us an hour. And then that was time for you to, you watch TV, you would cook your soups. If you had you would use the microwave, and then also take a shower.
No yard time?
No, we didn't go outside at all. The yards were empty. They were like ghost towns. There was weeds growing out of the concrete. And I never saw outside unless we were walking somewhere to like a doctor or something like that. You know what I'm saying? We never got yard time. There was a big ass football field in the middle, and that shit was losing its grass. They didn't take care of it because it was just slammed the whole time. And I know that there was some other cottages that were there, other buildings, and they had like some school program. They had like agriculture class and different things. And so they had program, but I didn't have no program. I was slammed down. So I started reading books on dark spells and Necronomicon and different things, you know, the Dark Bible. And I had a cellie that came in, and me and him used to like do dark spells and just like try to, you know, bring in like spirits from all over to visit us, and just, you know, drawing on the floor with our blood. And we were just kind of, you know what I'm saying, trying to lose our way, you know, trying to become stronger than our surroundings. And then I ended up getting out. You know, I maxed out. They couldn't keep me anymore. So I ended up maxing out in 95. And then I am getting out from there.
So you went in at 92 with the year, and you ended up maxing out at 95.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was
the
like
last,
it's like 2.5 altogether.
and
Almost
the
3.
last bit, you're slammed down the whole time. So it's like you have no real rehabilitation. It's not even really being like slowly integrated in society. They just throw you back out there.
Yeah. 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 It actually got worse as the longer I went. When I first got there, I was in a program. So I had a little bit of freedom. You know, it was more like, you know, like I said, we had weights and we could just kind of free for all every day as long as we stay within a perimeter. But then I went to Preston, and then I had a job, and I was, you know, I had freedom. I would drive around with this lady in her truck, and I would be throwing handballs to the homies. I would like get buckets of loose handballs and throw them out to the homies. And you know what I'm saying? I kind of had like freedom. And then when I went to Chad, it was just, it was nothing. I was just slammed. And that's when we started shaving our heads. I remember when we were there, because they would slam us so long, we couldn't see the barber. So either you had to shave your head or you just let it grow. And so a lot of people had long hair, but I didn't want long hair at the time. So I started shaving my head, and people were coming from prison and they were shaving heads at the time. That's kind of when that started. Before that, you know, it was like hairnets and 3 flowers and palm combs. But around that time, 93, 94 is when like head shaving. We used to do buzzing. Like you would get the clip and do like a one or a no clip or whatever. But I'm talking about like bicking, like when you call it bick in your head. We started doing that around 93, 94 because of being slammed down. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was more or less like shave for battle. Like people would come out with their head shaved and you knew they were probably going to get off.
Yeah.
You know, they called it shave for battle. So all those things started in there. And yeah, I had a couple cellies, and, you know, some of them I got along with, some of them I didn't. But either way, we were slammed down. Like, that's all you see all day long is just one other person. That's like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even spend that much time with the girl. Like, you guys kind of do your own thing too. But in there, it's like there's nothing to do. You can't go outside. The only time you get away from them is when you get your hour, and then you go and wander off. Like, go do your own thing, homie. I'm gonna do my thing, and then we'll be back in here. But other than that, all day. And if you don't get along, it's you know what I'm saying? It's a rough time, homie, because you're gonna want to fight. But then if you fight, then what? They're gonna let you fight, and then you're just gonna get tired, and you're just gonna be in there beat up, and hands you could get lumped up, you know, hands or whatever hurting, and then you just sitting there like looking at them like, man, we might have to go at it again. But then you get tired of it, homie. You know what I'm saying? You just fight, and then man, it's just there's nothing left to do. So from that, and then going back out, they just throw you back out there. You know what I'm saying? So I hit a bus, Stockton. I remember a homie was like, hey, you got to watch out when you go to the bus at Stockton, because these dudes from Stockton like to pull up and try to catch people slipping out there because they know you ain't got nothing and you just got out of jail. So they try to catch Southerners slipping. So, you know, had to look out for that. They threw me on a bus and I ended up going to downtown LA, the Greyhound station. And I remember getting out, and I couldn't find an RTD bus because it wasn't RTD anymore. You know, when I went in 92, it was RTD, the Rough, Tough, and Dirty. Yeah. And Rough, Tough, and Dangerous, you know. And when I got out, it was called Metro. Yeah. And or MTA, actually. And then when you're in jail, MTA stands for, Medical Treatment Authority or whatever it is. So it's like the medical. It's like when you go to the doctor, you go to the MTA. So I didn't know what the MTA bus was. And I'm walking around. I got the black Oxfords all shined up with my jeans, my Levi's, cold white tee that was, you know, I had creased it with a comb and that I put under my bunk and I slipped on it. So it got like a nice jailhouse crease on it. Yeah. And I had my little shoebox full of some letters and pictures and drawings, because I always drew. I always been like an artist. I was doing tattoos. I did some of my own patterns, you know, while I was in there. And then I got out. I was walking around looking for the damn bus. You know what I'm saying? When I finally hit some lady up, I was like, hey, where can I find RTD? And she was like, RTD? like, man, it's not RTD no more. I was like, oh shit, I've been gone for some years, you know. And then she finally explained, and I got on the bus, and I ended up going back right back to my hood. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where I went. That was my home, my family. You know, was the hood. So that was my YA experience right there, man. Then I got out and I had to be on parole, YA parole. And then when I got out, I remember the first thing I did was I got my head blasted. I got my head tattooed. This was in '95. I got, you know, my hood on the back of my head. And the only other person I had seen with tattoos in their head was a dude in Chad. He was a bulldog, and he had went to prison and then came back, and he had tattoos on his head, you know. And his cellie was some dude named Phantom from the Bulldogs, Fresno Bulldogs. He became pretty known later on. He was like one of their most known heads, but these dudes were blasted. Like that dude got the East Side Fresno on his neck or whatever. So, but they had went to prison and came back. You know what I'm saying? So when I got out, instead of being rehabilitated and kind of changing my ways for the better, I got worse. I got worse. I got kind of antisocial. Like people would walk up to me like, oh, what's up, homie? And people that I knew I was kind of cool with, but a lot of people, you know, they were like, oh, we heard about you and this and that. And I was just like, man, you got to step back. Like I didn't want anybody in my space. Girls would be looking at me all cute, and I'd just be like, man, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? About like, I didn't know how to be social. I didn't know how to. I would just stand there and just look at people, and people would be like, this fool's crazy, man. Don't even fuck with them, you know, kind of thing, because it brought out darkness in there, you know. And so, yeah, there was no rehabilitation. When I got out, I got worse, and I got blasted. I got my head blasted. I got my whole chest and all this shit blasted, man. I just started going off with tats. And then I got into drugs, you know, I started doing drugs.
Damn.
And during that time, 95, and I lost my mind, you know. So from age 14, which I kind of let my family go, like I kind of emancipated myself, you know. I kind of divorced from my family. And then from 14 to 19, so there was a good 5 years in there, I didn't really have an attachment to my family that I came from, like my blood relatives. I didn't really talk to my grandma. My mom didn't know what was going on. She thought that she was going to hear somebody call her and tell her that I got found dead somewhere or whatever, or see me on the news kind of thing. That's what she was worried about. And unlike my dad's side, my dad, you know, they're an upscale family. They're like middle to upper class. You know what I'm saying? They own businesses in Jamaica, and they have a long line of like established heads. You know, there's like scientists, business owners, musicians in that family. On my mom's side, they live different. They were like some of the early settlers of like Taos, New Mexico, and Aztec, and in Colorado, and there's natives and Spaniards that mixed over there. And so I came from that. And over there, they had nicknames, and I grew up with nicknames. Like I have my aunt Peanuts, and you know, like my uncle Rocky. Like it wasn't a big deal for them. They have tattoos, you know. But my dad's side was different. I grew up with them, so I was really an outsider. But my mom, you know, I had other cousins and uncles that had been to jail or whatever, so it wasn't like as big of a deal, you know what I'm saying, for them to hear that I was in jail or whatever. They're like, oh, okay, well, when's he getting out? Tell him to come visit, kind of thing. But with my dad's family, I was kind of like the black sheep, but instead I was not black, you know what I'm saying? It was the opposite, but I was the outcast. I was the outsider of that family. So it was a dark time. And I was just on, you know, when I did drugs, there's certain drugs that bring out the worst of people. And whether it be they're scandalous or they're grimy or they're shady or whatever it was. And what it did is brought out the worst in violence with me. I wanted to fight people. I wanted to kill people. I wanted to cut heads off. Like it made me, my violence my aggression go to a whole nother level, you know? So I was out there like hunting people down, you know, like I would stalk people and hunt them down. And then ended up catching up to me where I got arrested. They had a wanted poster for me on me. And when I got picked up for some other dumb shit, we were hanging out and one of my homies was hitting up on the wall and some lady was like, hey, whatever, I'm calling the cops. And so he took off, but we didn't leave. The cops got there and was like, all right, I'm taking you guys in for being a nuisance in public, which is supposed to be just like a ticket. You get out, you go to court, probably pay a fine. You know, court is a business. You know, they just want your money. You know, and if you can't pay with your money, then you pay with time, just like you do with a job. You either you put in time for money, and in jail is the opposite. If you can't put in the money, you put in the time. That's how that
Yeah.
works.
And that
So
time, even that time goes towards you being in there, and that justifies the COs or the sheriffs being paid, and fucking, you know, the
the
judge having to see
judges,
you again. Yeah. So it
yep,
justifies all that shit. That's fucked
the
up.
public defenders,
Yeah.
it justifies their whole being. Because without us, they don't have a purpose, they don't have a reason, and then they won't have a job. So they need to bring people in. So when you're paying your ticket, just know that you're paying those the salaries of the judges and the public defenders and the cops and all that. So you're right. It's all a business, you know. And so at the time when I went in there, I went in there, was supposed to be a ticket, and then they ended up seeing a wanted poster, and they're like, oh, that's the guy we've been looking for. So then I stayed, and my two homeboys that were with me, they got out. So I stayed, and they ended up booking me for some shit, you know what I'm saying, for some serious shit. And but while I was in there, I made a couple phone calls and did a couple of kind of secret code, if you will, you know what I'm saying, street code on letting them know that, hey, somebody's like talking, you know what I'm saying? So find out why I'm in here and who's behind it, and make sure that it doesn't go any further. And sure enough, when I went to court, nobody showed up. So without witnesses and without proof and without weapons, they really didn't have anything. So when they're the victims and the witnesses and when they didn't show up, they ended up having to throw all my shit out and then get a DA reject. But some of the people that were talking were in my own neighborhood. So when I got out, I kind of took the initiative, and I was only 18 at the time. And I took the initiative to step up and be like, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is what's going on. And I kind of like snatched up my own little piece of my hood, and I have my own clique in my hood, and I kind of did everything on that sense. I kind of became like a known head, you know, for my own reasons. And, people that were telling them disappearing and so on and so on. And then things took a whole drastic change for me, because I had my, at the time, she was my chick, she was my lady, right? We were young. So I made her, like, I brought her the hood and made her kind of part of my hood. And I put my name, I tattooed my name on her neck with my hood and everything.
Oh, shit.
And so it had Trouble LWS on her neck. And so, I was at the park one day playing handball with my homeboys, had my shirt off, I got my hood blasted, my head, whatever. My homies are there. And so my girl, she was like, at the time, she was like baby mama, because she was pregnant, right? Well, no, let me back up. Okay, so I found out. Okay, so let me back up before the park thing. So I found out one day, I used to sniff lines. So I was sniffing lines. I used to smoke cigarettes, whatever. And then at the time, my chick, she went into the bathroom, and she was in the bathroom, and she had been there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So Damn. Finally I had to piss, and I'm banging on the door like, what's up, man? Did you fall in? Or like, what's going on in there? You know what I'm saying? And so she was like, nah, come in here and this and that. And then I went in there, and she showed me a pregnancy test, one of the ones that they pee on, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? My bad. So you there? So I was like, man, what the fuck? That's crazy. Like, what am I gonna do here?
Yeah.
And hold on. Okay, so I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like, what am I gonna do? So I started going through all my mental progressions. Like, what does that mean? I'm gonna make a kid. Like I'm making a baby. You know what I'm saying? And she's carrying my kid. Like, it's not just about me anymore. But now I have a blood family member. So it opened up things in my brain that I didn't even realize that I had. Because, like I said, I had disconnected myself with my blood relatives that I came from. Mm-hmm. And now she's carrying my blood inside of her. So that made me feel like a king. You know what I'm saying? It made me feel like I got a king, and I got like a little prince or princess coming, and I got to step up, man. I can't. So I was looking at these drugs in front of me, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I know what these drugs do. They bring out the worst. They make me violent. They made me like, all the anger that I had, it wouldn't allow me to relax and to keep my composure. Like, I would do this shit, and if somebody pissed me off, like, I would just be like, man, in a rage, like wrath. Like, I wanted to punish people, like a punisher, And so, and I knew at the time that I was putting her in danger. I could be walking down the street, and people could roll by and recognize me or whatever, and just let off, and then there she goes with me. But when it was just me and her, it was kind of like, that's what we do. We we got to take that chance. But then she's telling me she's having my baby. So my protective instincts kicked in, and I'm just like, damn, I can't do this. I got to take care of her. I got to keep her kind of away from the shit, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't know what that meant because that's all that I knew. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know anything else but to just gang bang. Different people join gangs for different reasons. You know, they want to hang out, they want to do drugs, they want to drink, they want to just have a good time. But me, I was a gang banger. There's a difference. Yeah. Gang bangers are the ones that they gang bang, like they go looking for it. Like people got problems, like let's go to the enemy's hood and let's let these dudes have it. Let's like looking for the problems, giving them the problems. I wasn't getting problems. I wasn't having problems. I was the problem.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And that was my way. I felt like I had an upper hand out there in how I survived because I was never anybody's victim. I never been shot, never been stabbed. I got my head busted open. And I went into a coma when I was 15. I ended up passing out. And, you know, the ambulance came and I refused medical attention. They made me sign a paper. And then I passed out, and I was out for the count for a whole week. And I didn't go to the hospital. I was in somebody's house. It was my two homeboys, their mom. It was their house, you know? And so that was the only time when anybody really got the best of me where I kind of got it. But it wasn't just one person. It was like me and my boy. It was three of us. One of them was he wasn't really much of anything at the time. Like he couldn't really do anything. So it was like 2.5 of us and like 12 of them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up getting the best of me at that time. I got cracked in the head with a gun or whatever. And, you know, that's another story right there. But that's the only time when really, you know, I got a couple head injuries, but I've never been stabbed, never been shot because I was always the one doing that. And I knew that I was going to be caught up in this realm of violence. And so I kind of needed to figure out like, okay, how am I going to be that and do that, but then have this baby? Yeah. I can't bring this baby into this environment. So I was like, do I send her away? Because she wanted to be with me every day, regardless she was in danger or not. She wanted to be with me every day. And I was like, man, maybe you should go back with your mom and just kind of do your thing over there. But she would want to be with me all the time. So I had to make different changes. So anyways, I had this line, right? I remember it was a Lion King picture on the wall. It was my homegirl's kids' room. And I had this Lion King picture, like a framed picture with glass, and I had lines cut up on it. Damn. And before I went to the bathroom, I was about to do these lines. When she told me she was pregnant, I had all this dope on there. I did one last line, right? And then I threw the rest on the floor. I went outside. I smoked my last cigarette ever. And I remember it was July of '95. And I smoked my last cigarette, and I was like, that's it. I'm not doing no more dope. I'm not smoking no more cigarettes. I'm not doing none of that because I wanted to be in my best mentality. I wanted to be in my best mind state of going forward because I have to look out for this baby. So now everything is different. I'm kind of moving different. I'm not so like, as they say, when you have nothing to lose. I didn't have anything to lose. And now I had something to lose. Yeah. So it's different. It changed everything, you know? So now, you know, I'm moving different. I'm going about things different. Not to say that I wasn't involved, but I just didn't do dumb shit anymore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I did things with more precision and more strategy. And I wasn't hunting people down, but if people came to me, I gave it to them. But I didn't really care about that anymore. I was like, I don't have a purpose to go hunt people down anymore. So it kind of saved them for me to have something else to focus on. Like it really made me open up, you know. And no more drugs. So I wasn't in a, you know, because when you do drugs, you're in a different mind state. Your mind is not, you're not yourself. And so it opens up yourself to all the darkness that, you know, to just come and consume you. And I became the darkness. And when I did drugs, when I stopped doing drugs, I became more clear-minded. And so let me fast forward. So then back to one day I was playing handball at the park. We had handball courts at the park. I used to play 3-wall, and we were playing handball, whatever. And then it was hot, so you know it was like October, but in LA, you know, it doesn't get cold really, as you know. So yeah, I sent my girl across the street to go get us some sodas, right? So she went across the street. Now this is in my hood in my city in Hawthorne, and we're on Prairie and 139th at Jim Thorpe Park. And so she went across the street to the little market, and I wasn't there, so I didn't see it. But apparently when she went there, somebody recognized her and saw my name. You saw my name on her neck and started woofing on her. And at first she was ignoring it, but then they got in her face, and it was two dudes and a chick. And excuse me real quick. Okay. And I'm trying to make sure my, oh man, where'd you go? Shit, man, my bad.
No problem.
All right. So apparently they were like sweating her, you know what I'm saying? Now she's pregnant. So they can see she's pregnant. And so they're sweating her like, fuck your dude and fuck your hood and his hood or whatever. So she's like, why don't you go tell him yourself or whatever? So she took off across the street, scared, trying to come back to get me, like trying to tell me what's going on. And as she was crossing the street, scared, kind of with her head down, she almost got hit by a car. So then that really had her going. You know, she was like, oh, I found this out later, you know, well, not later, but as she came to tell me, she's crying and telling me the story. And every word she's telling me, I'm just feeling this rage just build up inside of me. And it was a different rage. It wasn't something that I felt before. This is a whole nother level, because these dudes are sweating her because of my hood, because of where I'm from. But I took it as they're putting my child in danger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're fucking with my pride, my future, my pride, my bloodline. I took that to a whole nother level. So I'm like, come on. I grabbed her by her arm and I shot beeline straight for the liquor store. You know, I walked in and I'm looking around. I'm like a lion, man, looking for these motherfuckers, like, where they at? And she's like, I don't know. I walked up and down, like, where they at? I was like, you better tell me when you see them. Like, I'm telling her, like, don't be hiding out, you know, don't be holding back. Like, tell me when you see them. And she's like, I know. So we went back to the park, and then my homies are like tripping. I'm like, hey, you all right? Because they could tell I wasn't really involved anymore, and I was like in a different mind state, but I wasn't telling them what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Because it didn't involve them. Like, to me, it was more about my family than my hood, even though my hood was my family, but that's my family where I grew up from. But when I saw my kid, or I knew my kid was coming to me, that was like different. It was, I didn't want my kid to be part of that, you know what I'm saying, part of that life. So they crossed over, but I didn't feel like I needed to let them know what was going on, because I didn't really care where they were from. That's the thing. I didn't know where they were from, and I didn't care where they were from. They had a problem with me, but they put my child in danger. She could have ran the street, got hit by the car. I could have lost my kid. You know what I'm saying? They could have hit her or did something to her, and just all kinds of things could have went wrong. So for me, it was a whole different get down. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I'm talking to her, and then she's like, look, there they go. And boom, these motherfuckers walked through my park.
Oh, shit.
They were walking through my park, not even knowing, not even realizing that we're in the back of because it was kind of in the back where the handball courts are. And they're walking through like the little path, just going through. And I was like, what? And I turned around and I was like, hey, motherfucker, what's up? And then they turned around, and then they had a bottle and they threw it, right? They threw it at me, but it went over me and almost hit her. So I just, I got into hunt mode. I got into predator mode, and I ran them down. So I ran one of them down. I chased him through this apartment building. Apparently people saw me. The manager saw me run through. And then when I got to the back of the apartment building, he was trying to climb over this wall, but it was a big ass wall, a good 10 feet. And I snatched his ass down, and I started just rocking him, you know? And I did a little bit of training with my hands, you know? So, and plus, you know, I was a brawler. So I was just going, I just teed off on this dude, man. I didn't show any mercy. I was just beating him. He ended up falling. I stomped him out. And then eventually he wasn't moving anymore. He wasn't like, you know, defending himself. He was just taking it. I was stomping his face and just like, and then she ended up stopping me. She was like, man, you're going to kill this dude. And in my head, I'm like, I just saw red, and I was like, I probably wanted to kill him. Like, I would have killed him if she wouldn't have stopped me. Yeah. Like, that's just real. That was the rage that I was in at the time. And when I snapped out of it, and I looked down and I see this dude just kind of laying there, and I heard sirens come in. So I was like, fuck, man. I was like, I got to get out of here. So, but I didn't have to go far because I live right across the street from the park. I had my shirt off, showing my tats, my head.
Damn.
So I wasn't hard to describe. You know, the description of me was easy when they were like, oh, he's this big, he had tattoos, and he ran that way. So the cops came. Well, before the cops came, my homies that were there, they were around at the time. They saw me chase this dude down, so they ended up over there with me. So when I stopped, I looked around. I had a crowd around me, but at the time, I didn't realize that people were watching me. It was just me and him.
Yeah.
And so I snapped out of it. I looked and I was like, fuck it, I'm gone. I left and I don't know what happened. I left everybody. When I went back to my house, I was my girl was icing my hand, and I had my hand was just lumped up, man. It was swollen. And my homies came there knocking on the door, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, why are you guys coming over here? And they were like, the cops are everywhere. So I was like, man. So I told them, these are my homies. I'm not going to tell them to get out there and go whatever. So I told them, you guys got to hang out in the garage and go hide out in there. And so I ended up doing that. And then the cops rolled by, and they, it was while one of them was opening the garage to go in there, and they saw everybody in the garage. So they ran up with guns or whatever. And I didn't know this at the time, but after I beat this dude down, my homeboys robbed him. So they took his ring, necklace. He had a pager at the time. This was in the 90s. So they had a pager, his wallet. They took all his shit. And so the cops got up in there. It was a whole different mentality where what they thought happened is that I tried to rob him and he didn't cooperate. He didn't give up his shit. So then I beat him. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a robbery gone wrong.
Yeah.
Not what the circumstances were. So their whole get down was different, because he said the girl that was with them saw them take his shit, and they were like, they robbed him. They took all his stuff. So it looked like a gang robbery. You know what I'm saying? So the cops had a whole different thing when they got there. And then I had a strap in my garage, a knife, had a double-edged dagger. And they ended up taking all that. And they took me to jail. Well, they took me and put me in the police car because the girl came by. They put her right next to me. And I know this. They told her to antagonize me and kind of get me going. And I was like, man, fuck you, bitch. Man, I'm going to fuck you up too when I get out of here. So
Damn.
I'm threatening her. And then they put one of my homeboys with me in the car. And then so I'm telling him, what did you guys do? You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, man, nothing, man. I'm like, no, fuck that. They're saying that where's the jewelry and where's this and that. And they were like, nah, we took his shit, whatever. And then I'm looking down and I was like, fuck, I got blood on my shoe. I got to get this shit off. So I'm telling the homie, here, try to take this shit off. And then I was telling him, hey, he was a juvenile. So I was like, when you get to juvenile, oh, man, just tell him that, I had nothing to do with it. You guys did all this. He was like, all right, homie, I got you, whatever. I didn't know this at the time, but they were recording our conversation in the police car.
Shit.
And I had never heard of that before. I wasn't up on that yet. I heard about it later, and I was one of the ones that they kind of got doing that. You know what I'm saying? They caught me talking. Now they can't use that in court against you to convict you, but they use it to build your case. Mm-hmm. They also use it as a bargaining chip, hey, we got you saying this and this and this, try to, for a deal or whatever. So I ended up taking a deal. When I went to the county, because I was blasted up when I went, they got me, it was gang related. I had already been to YA, I had already been in the county before. I was a big dude. All those factors came in, OSJ, Operation Safe Jail, and throw me in the game module. So I went to the game module. I was 19. And that's when I got really schooled in the whole system by being in the game module, because in the game module runs everything. You know what I'm saying? And there's only so many heads. It was there's 13 cells on each side. This was before they ended up putting the first cells as showers. When I was there, those were occupied, and they were 6-man cells. So dudes were in there getting took out, getting sliced up. So I saw, the worst of the worst while I was in there. And for me, I just felt like I was where I needed to be at the time. It was part of my journey. So I was, drawing on the walls. I was in there doing pick tattoos, on myself, on people. I was facing 34 years, which the reason why it was so much is because it was a robbery felony. So it was a robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, and my deadly weapon is my hands, you know what I'm saying? And so it was, and then there was a GBI, which is a great bodily injury enhancement, which adds to your crime. So, and then at the time, I didn't know that at the time, but this was when they barely were coming out with the strikes law, the 3 strikes, the gang enhancements, all these things. This was around that time when it was still brand new, 94, 95, during, what was that, Clinton? I think the governor, he was the governor at the time. So this was during their time when they came out with.
It was the president. I think was Ross Perot the president at that time?
No, it was Clinton, bro. Clinton's the one that signed over on the strikes, on the three
Wait,
strikes law.
that was federal, but we have with their California. I forgot who the governor was. Yeah, but everybody followed suit because it
Oh,
was that tough on crime shit. You know what I mean?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're saying the governor. The president was Clinton, and then Ross Perot was the governor at the time. But then the governor came on right after. Because I remember
Yeah.
when I got to prison, he restructured the whole weight pile, you know, and his thing was like, well, I got big, and that helped me, so it could help them by having an outlet for their aggression, their testosterone. Men need something to do, so they kind of arranged like a weight pile where we had to check in and we had to get our little cards clocked. When I first
Oh
got there, it was
shit.
free weights. It was
Yeah.
free weight. You just walk up, and then it was in the sand, and you just get yours. But fools are getting cracked in the head with weights and shit, so they kind of had to regulate that, and they fenced it off. And that was like in '96 when I got up there, '97. And so I didn't know that at the time. So the strike laws and all that, and then I ended up signing a deal for 4 years, and I thought I was going to get out in 2 years because it used to be halftime for
Yeah.
everything, but then I had the violence, and so I ended up having to do the whole 4.
Oh
You know what I'm
shit.
saying?
How did that feel?
So
Because your girl's pregnant, and you know now it's like you have a kid on the way, but you're not gonna be able to see the birth of your child or
yeah.
the early stages of the child's life. How did that make you feel? Or did you even consider that?
Yeah.
Did you put that to the back of your mind because you're busted?
No, that was part of my reason to take the deal. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
would have been like, you guys got to come take these years from me. So part of the reason why I took a deal was to guarantee that I was going to be able to get out in a good time.
Yeah.
I thought I was signing a 4-year to get out in 2 years, and I had already had 6 months in there when I got convicted, when I took my deal. So I thought I was going to be out like a year and a half. But that wasn't the case. When I got up to prison, they gave me a date, and my date was for 3.5 years later. And I appealed it, you know, so I was like, nah, that's not what happened and whatever. But they said because I signed it, you can't appeal a deal. I tried to even say that my counsel was incompetent because he didn't even know about it. And I guess he got disbarred later or something happened, but
Oh shit.
I didn't know that I was signing an enhancement deal. So it was a 186.22 gang enhancement. Then there was a GBI enhancement, great bodily injury enhancement. Then I had to register my hands as deadly weapons. And then they ended up putting the robbery second. I pled guilty. I still had to take the robbery, but it was a second-degree robbery instead of a robbery with a great bodily injury.
Yeah.
So the way they twisted my case, they restructured it so that my deal made sense, and I ended up getting the 4 years. And then I went up to prison. I went to Wasco. I ended up hitting that 3-yard. And then I was up there just doing my time. I was working out. Always been athletic, so I just still continue on my workout program. I was up there doing tats. I ended up becoming at 20 years old. I ended up becoming like one of the, like the whole yard. I was like always top 5 in tattoo artists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even at a young age. So I was just blasting everybody up, and that was paying for my groceries. You know, people would come and drop off bags of groceries and be like, "Put me in line. Here's a $30 bag, $50 bag," and in there, it's like 10%. You know what I'm saying? Like a $30 bag is like a $300 bag on the streets.
Yeah.
You know, a $50 bag is like $500 kind of bag on the streets as far as tattoos go. So, you know what I'm saying? Ended up like that was my whole like get down while I was in there. I would work out. I would just, I played a little basketball, did tats, and just did my time. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up doing the whole 4 years. I got caught doing tats, and so you get time at it, and you can't get that back. I got into a little thing. I needed to go to the back and make sure that like everything was good because people like to hate or whatever. And so if you don't torpedo, they kind of want to throw your name under the bus. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna sit here and wait for some. I end up rushing somebody and get myself to the back so that I can face the person that was talking on me. And when I got back to, they had a whole different tune. So it just like, kind of gave me my respect along the way. The fact that you got to have heart, man. And a lot of people get broke down in that system because they're not built for it. They think because they're from a gang that they're hard. And then when they end up facing the truth and have to face, walk through that door, they realize that they're not what they thought they were. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I kind of realized what I was made of because every step of the way I had to, you kind of have to show your colors again along the way. And I always did, so I always ended up showing what I was about at the time. All right. So yeah, that was it. Where did I leave off? Going up there, you know, to prison and doing my thing up there. Met a lot of good heads that I still talk to this day, you know, and ended up there and, you know, in prison. And when I got out of there, then, so while I was up there, so check it out. While I was up there, it took me about a year for me to actually meet my kid. Cause you know, like you
Damn.
were asking about my kid, and
Yeah.
I didn't get to see my kid the whole way. My child was born while I was in reception at Wasco. And so I got pictures. When I got pictures of my kid, you know, it was a whole different thing. Like it brought something out of me that I didn't know I had. And it gave me an attachment and it made it real.
Yeah.
You know, all those things that I thought like I got something to lose now or whatever, that became real. You know what I'm saying? And when I got the pictures and I was just like, damn, that's my little girl. And finally I got to talk to somebody on the phone. Me and my baby mama, we ended up, you know, bumping heads about things. And so, you know, I wanted her to be a certain way with my kids. She wanted to, you know, do her thing. So I was like, fuck it, you go do your thing, but leave my kid with your mom. So her mom ended up raising my daughter, and my baby mama kind of went off on her own. And then her mom, my daughter's grandma, brought her to see me, right?
Yeah.
So she drove up there and she allowed me to me and her were always tight. She allowed me to meet my daughter. My daughter was she was about 10 months, almost 11 months when I finally got to meet her.
Damn.
And when I picked her up, I just felt like that's part of me. So
Yeah.
ever since that happened, it gave me an attachment in life. And I can say that ever since then, it started, you know, having me think a certain way and feel a certain way. I didn't even know that I could feel, because I used to do drugs to be numb. I didn't want to remember my old life. I didn't want to remember where I came from. I didn't even really claim my heritage of my, you know, my dad. Like I didn't tell people like, oh, I'm mixed with Jamaican, and you know what I'm saying? Like I just kind of stuck with like I'm Hispanic and Native and kind of kept with that, and I cut that off. But then when I had my daughter and I met her, I was like, man, this is like my little, you know, my little bloodline right here, my little princess. You know, she was my firstborn. So she opened up something for me. And I could say that she saved my life. But not only my life, but I feel like she saved a lot of people's lives, because like I said, I was dangerous.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could have just stayed on that path, and I wouldn't end up, I know for a fact, I wouldn't end up just taking people out, man. I would have, you know what happens, you know what I'm saying? People end up getting caught up in it, and there's a lot of people in jail for shit that they did, especially when they were young and they had nothing to lose and they didn't have anything to attach themselves to, and then they end up just doing shit and being dumb and crazy or outraged, or they were even drunk or high or whatever, and you know, they got themselves caught up, and now they're in there, you know, may never get out, never see the light of day, you know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah, damn, man.
I thank my daughter that she gave me attachment so that I could start changing my ways. And you know, and I mean, I've always been a gangster ever since then, but I was no longer so, gang banging was not as important to me anymore. It wasn't like I need to go out and punish people. I kind of passed that down to other people that were coming up in the neighborhood. Like, okay, you know, you guys go ahead and do it. I'll teach you guys how to go out and do it. If that's what you guys want to do, then I want to at least help you guys do it right. Don't make the mistakes. Don't go out there stupid. Don't be out there doing these things. But even kind of telling them like, man, maybe this and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, just think about different things. And not everybody. I mean, the hood, the gangs, like they're going to be there. They're always going to be there. But there's certain people that I felt like maybe you got a chance to do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe you're good at football. You're good at basketball. You're good at singing. You're good at art, at drawing. Like you got to find what you're good at, or what, you know, what kind of like your natural skills and your talents, and hone in on those. And, you know, if nobody tells you, if your own pops don't tell you, if the homies don't tell you, I was going to be the one to tell them. That's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Like I tell people all the time, like you got to find what you're good at, what moves you, what makes you want to get up every day and do something, and then find a purpose and find a way to make money off of it, to make a living off of it. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I changed. You know what I'm saying? That was my change right there. When I got out, I started, you know, paying attention to that, being more of a dad. Are we kind of dark? Let me turn
Nah,
the
we're good.
light
We're
on.
good.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so then it was different for me, but like I said, I wasn't with her anymore. I ended up meeting my second baby's mama. And then I got out, and then I got with her, and I kind of continued. I got her pregnant right away. It wasn't the plan, but it kind of just happened that way.
Yeah.
And so I kind of left off continue where I left off when I went to jail. She was pregnant, and now I got out, and then I was with somebody else, and now she's pregnant right away. So she was a different mindset. Me and her were you know, we were kind of cool, we were tight, whatever. And then I ended up having another daughter. Me and her split ways because her family lived so far away from where I was, and she wanted to be around her family, and I didn't know any different. So I kind of wanted to be around my neighborhood. And then when I tried to leave and go live out where she was in the outskirts, the parole, they didn't let me. They were like, nah, because I was high control parole. I had been to gang module. You know, I was considered an active gang member, and I had went in for gang violence, and my hands were dead, you know, registered deadly weapons. And so the parole didn't want to transfer me. They didn't want to accept me where I was trying to go to. So they were like, no, you got to stay where you're at. But then once you get off parole, then you could do what you got to do. So I had to do high control parole for 3 years. And then that put a strain on me and her that I couldn't be out there. So me and her split ways. And then when that happened, that kind of set me back a little bit because, you know, that gave me another attachment. And then when I kind of lost that, I had my other daughter, but my first daughter, she was being raised by her grandma. And I didn't want my kids to be around me as a danger, like still being in the hood, still trying to figure out my way. I went back to selling dope because that's what I did know. I knew business. I knew how to sell drugs. And, you know, so I started selling drugs. I started pushing drugs to other states and doing that kind of thing. And I never did drugs again after that, or smoked cigarettes again, as I was telling you. But I knew what drugs were. So I was selling the shit out of drugs, you know what I'm saying? And that was my program. Every day, all day, I was just pushing dope. And then I ended up meeting my third baby mama, and then me and her, and then I finally had a son. And so that was my son, and then that was it. I stopped having kids after my son. He's 18 now, so you know that was 18 years ago when that happened. And then me and her end up, you know, having a fallout or whatever. And then I got myself caught up. Well, okay, let me back up. So in 2002, me and her, that was my son was born, and I knew a couple people that had been in, they were kind of in like the acting industry, right? The entertainment industry. And I knew people that were in like the music industry. I knew like Cypress Hill and all them. I actually grew up with B-Real's sister, and you know, she was one of my homegirls from like middle school.
Yeah.
And you know, she was ran around my neighborhood back then, so he would come down to my neighborhood and like Joker brand and all them. He would come bring us like all these street brand T-shirts and whatever. So I kind of was exposed to some of that early on, and then I went away. When I came out, I got this opportunity to get involved in acting, right? And so you know who Noel G is, right?
Yeah, the actor.
He played in like Training Day and whatever. Okay, so he was already involved. And then there's a homie. His name is I knew him as Creeper back then, but his name is Carlos Ayala. And shout out to Carlos Ayala, man. He's like, I knew him. We had a common friend. So I had a friend. He was good friends with Noel G. Noel G lived in my hood at the time, so they used to hang out at his pad. Me and him were never really all that cool. I mean, I knew him, he knew me, whatever, but we were on different levels, mentally, everything, just whatever. But he was involved, and he had his thing going on, you know what I'm saying? So I respected that. I knew what he was doing. I never pictured myself doing that or getting involved in that, except for that was him. But then one day we were at the Hustler Casino in Gardena, and I used to be at the Hustler Casino. I used to be playing sports bookie you know, putting bets on sports games, and then and also playing like the blackjack table, Texas Hold'em, whatever.
Yeah.
And one day we're all at the table and we were just kind of chopping up, and my boy was like telling them like, man, you should put my boy Trouble in movies. And they were like, man, I was like, nah, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not really my thing, because the thing is, on the streets is that my name was known, but people didn't really know what I looked like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like my name was on the walls. My name was coming out of everybody's mouth. I was talked about a lot because of all the shit that I did, all the dirt, but I was seldom seen.
Yeah.
And I felt like that would put me out there too much. Like I would get seen, and I didn't really want that. That wasn't my life. I was still, in my mind, I was still about that street life. So, you know, so at the time I was like, nah, I'm good. And then they were like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you should come down to one of our meetings and this and that. You know, we have a little group. And at the time it was called Suspect Entertainment. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that was a big deal moving forward, because they had a bunch of homies. They had, you know, homegirls out there that were tatted up and that were, you know, dressed the part, looked the part, and then they were putting them in movies and music videos and whatnot. And they were like, you know, and I was blasted at the time. I've been tatted up for a long time, way before these trends. I mean, I had tattoos on my face, my head, my neck. I was sleeved up already. There was only like one other dude that I knew that had more tattoos than me, and that's Triggs, rest in peace, the homie Triggs. And I knew him from being busted too. I knew him, his brother, Risky, No Hollywood. I knew them already. And Triggs was part of the whole Suspect also. And then Joker Brand was involved with Cypress Hill. So it was like the Soul Assassin circle, you know what I'm saying? They're the ones that kind of pulled me into the entertainment world. Then I got introduced to Esteban Oriol.
Yeah.
And when I met him, he was like, oh, homie, you're all blasted up, man. So let me take your picture. And I was healthy at the time. I had some size on me. I had like 19-inch arms, you know what I'm saying? I was like 235, just a big dude, you know? And he was like, well, so let me take your picture. And he took your picture, like, look at this shit, man. He was like, I can, you know what I'm saying, throw this Joker Brand t-shirt on, and kind of just introduced me into, because see, Esteban has a way that he communicates with people. It makes it good, you know what I'm saying, where he could like talk to people and like, let me take your picture. You know, people want to take my picture before. I'm like, no, I'm cool. I'm not with that, because I don't know what they're going to do with these pictures. You know, I'm like, you work for the police, like, what are you doing with this shit? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But Esteban Oriol, he always had a way of like communicating with not just homies, with everybody, you know, everybody from the streets. Like, he has his way. So when he was like, let me take your picture, he was like, look at this shit, homie. Like, man, I could see you on billboards, and kind of gave me like a little, you know, another way to think about going about things. But I was like, I'll see what's up. But I wasn't really tripping on it. And then I got invited to do this music video. And hey, let me know if we're getting too dark, man, because it's getting dark over here.
You can put the light on now if you want. Yeah, it's getting a little dark now.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna face you upwards, and then I'm gonna turn this light on. Give me a second.
All right.
Let me see if this works. Boom. Let me know if we're good, or you good right there?
Oh, that's real good. Yeah.
Okay. So what was I talking about? Okay, we on
the music video.
Oh yeah. So I got invited to this music video, right? And they were like, hey, just come down to the spot. There was this lady named Stella. She lived in Lincoln Heights, and we used to have meetings at her house. And then it was Manny Jimenez, and he ran Suspect Entertainment. And you know, they were like, you know, happy to meet me, and I wasn't a knucklehead, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I had matured real early, real young. So I kind of went in there with a maturity level that other people hadn't acquired yet. They hadn't developed yet. And then I met Emilio Rivera. You know what I'm saying? I kind of got to meet some people that I had seen on TV before. And I'm like, oh, okay, like this is some real shit going on. So when they hit me up and they're like, hey, we want you to come down to this music video. You know, we're going to book you for this music video. Like a bunch of us were supposed to go. And I was like, music video. And I was like, man, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't really feeling it. I was like, I didn't know that's what I wanted to do yet. And so I was going to the gym, right? like I was part of a gym at the time, and I remember like this was a little while later, maybe a month later or something, and then I was at the gym and I was working out, and they have monitors up top, right? And so
Yeah.
I saw this music video come on, and it was for Christina Aguilera. Do you remember that? Christina Aguilera was called. I seen the music video that I was supposed to be on, and they had all the homies in there. And what it was is she was in a boxing ring, and she was getting down with some chick that had like a mask on, and you couldn't see who it was.
Yeah.
And you remember that video?
What was
And
it?
it
The
had
phone kind
like
of broke up there. What was the name of it?
Dirty from
Oh yeah, yeah,
Christina
yeah,
Aguilera.
yeah, yeah. I
And
remember that.
I mean, who else was in that? Was Busta Rhymes in that, or who was in that? There
Nah,
was,
fuck. Yeah, I forgot there was somebody else. I don't think it was Busta
or was
Rhymes.
it Method Man? I think it might be Method
Yeah, I
Man.
think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I saw the video and I saw all the homies, and they were like, you know, they were the crowd, the audience in the boxing ring, and then when she won, they lifted her up in there and they were carrying her around, and I was like, what the fuck? And I just seen that. I could see myself doing that. They were tatted. If you watch the video, you can see that at the time it was a big deal because nobody was really doing that. Nobody was tatted like that. They didn't have homies like doing those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? So I missed out on that one. And then that's when I started thinking like, damn, that's what they're doing. Like I could do some shit like that. I could see myself doing that. And so when I talked to some of the homies that were on there, I was like, how was it? And they let me know. And they were like, and the best part is at the end of the day, like you get to go home and then you get paid. You know what I'm saying? Like they're paying you to do this shit. So then I ended up letting them book me for this. It was like a foreign TV show. It was a Korean TV drama, and there was an episode where they hired. Well, okay, there was this dude. He came from Korea. I guess he was over here trying to find out who killed his dad or his brother or something.
Yeah.
And so he got a job at a gas station, and him and his boy, and they were out here, kind of trying to blend in. And he got this job at a gas station. He was a gas attendant, and then the homies pulled up, and they were in like an Impala, whatever, and he put the gas, and then when he jumped in the car and started fighting with them, and he took the keys, he was like, "What's up? Come get the keys." So they tried to rush him, and he ended up doing a number on everybody, because he was the star. So he ended up, being the one that put it down. And so what ended up happening was those homies, the story goes, they went back to the hood and they got all of us, and so we pulled up deep, and when we pulled up. I'm the biggest dude. Again, I'm the biggest one there, healthy at the time. And so the homie was Cesar Garcia. Shout out Cesar. He was there, and he was like the little shot caller. He was like, "Oh, what's up, man? You beat up my boys, man." He's like, "Now you gotta fuck with my fighter, man, my best fighter." And then he called me. I was like, Fernando. He was like, Fernando. He's like, "You can handle these fools." And I pushed through the crowd. I took my shirt off. I was flexing on him, bouncing my chest. I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to fuck this dude up." And I walked up on him, and he did like this roundhouse stunt kick, and they had like pulleys and shit, so he could do his little roundhouse. And he ended up dropping me. He put me on my back, and we're out there in Wilmington. It was December. It was cold as fuck. I remember I was on the ground, fucking cold, shirt off.
Yeah.
And then they ended up picking me up off the floor and then taking us on. And so that was my part.
Let me ask real quick with that. You had to do the stunt too, or did they have a stunt man, like a stunt double?
Nah, I do my own stunts. I'm a stunt man now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's also in my credit. If you look at my credits, my IMDb credits, you can see that I have stunt credits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he did his own stunts, and then I did the stunt, and I had to like act like I got not beat down, but like I got drop kicked by roundhouse kick, whatever. I ended up on the ground, whatever. They picked me up, they took us away, and then later on, we made deal with this dude where we were like, okay, we're gonna like hook you up and you can come chill with us, but you need to teach us how to fight. And so they show him doing a class on us, teaching us martial arts and shit. A bunch of gangsters out there learning martial arts from this dude, and then supposedly we were like helping him because he had to earn money, so we were giving him like a little bit of money here and there. So that was the way the story went, and that was my first experience in acting. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is acting for real, because if we were not acting, I wouldn't have got dropped like that. You know what I'm saying? It would have been a different outcome. So that's when I had to kind of suck up my street pride and realize that I'm just like kind of performing. And then at the end of the day, I got paid. You know what I'm saying? And so I got paid, and back then they were paying good money. So when I ended up getting paid for that, and then I saw myself on TV, and I'm like, damn, I'm like, this shit is real. Like, it fucking hit me hard, bro. I was like, fuck yeah, like I can do this shit. You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up doing that, and then I ended up coming out in this music video. You remember that band Good Charlotte?
Yeah.
It's like a little rock band.
Yeah.
It's when they barely came out. I think they only had like 1 or 2 videos out before that, and then it was their main song. It was called Anthem. And if you watch that video, you could see me in there, and I'm inside the garage, and I'm blasted. So I stood out, you know what I'm saying, as being like heavily tattooed at the time. And you know what I'm saying? So then that's what kicked off like a whole different career for me, because I was only doing tattoos at the time. I worked professional at a tattoo shop, Taste Players Tattoos on Crenshaw. Then I went to the Lion's Den in Carson. And so the homie Dino Blanco from Norwalk, he's the one that plugged me in with the tattoos. And he has his own shop now, Lifestyles in Carson, but he always was plugged in with doing tattoos, you know, professionally or whatever. And so he plugged me in with a job, and I started off just doing names because nobody else wanted to do names and letters, and then eventually ended up doing art. And so that was the only thing I did legit, so that I wouldn't be just slanging dope and just, you know, being out there stuck and being a knucklehead. So when I got this opportunity to do acting, and then that led to modeling. Basically, I say model because I was modeling clothes for Joker brand through Esteban Oriol. He would take pictures of me with the Joker brand and the little background, and then he ended up throwing me in all these magazines, Source magazine, Double XL magazine.
Damn, how did that feel to because those are fucking like magazines a lot of people read.
A lot of people, man. When I did the Double XL magazine, they had these cats come out from New York. This one cat named Coffee, who I'm still cool with now. He was like the fashion director, and him and Esteban were tight. And it was crazy, man, because they would give us clothes and like, oh, you know, taking pictures of. So what they wanted to do was they wanted like the New York fashion, but they wanted the LA style. You know, they wanted LA people rocking it with we were tatted, and we had lowriders, and you know what I'm saying, all this. And so it was a whole different dynamic. They were crossing the 2 coasts over, and it was a big deal. Double XL was a big deal. That was a big deal. Yeah. And then I did a video for I don't remember the order, but they were all kind of close. But the biggest one I probably was in was Blink-182, called Down. And they had me as the main character, and Terry Crews, he plays the cop that's coming for me. We're in a backyard boogie, and then he comes for me, and I hit the wall, and they're chasing me. Let me see. Gotti from Booyah Tribe was there. You know what I'm saying? Triggs was there, the homie Triggs, and it was like a whole get down of people that were there. And it was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Cartoon was in there at the end. He's like doing a tattoo. So I get away from the cops. I get away. Like I get in a high-speed chase. I'm through the LA River. You know, I'm driving Esteban Oriol's, 76 Monte Carlo. You know what I'm saying? They got helicopters chasing me. Hey, it shit was fun, homie. And at the end, I got interviewed. And my whole thing was like, man, I get to do this shit and do gangster shit and then get paid for it at the end. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like like I'm not going to jail for real. Like I'm just playing this part. And a lot of the stuff that I was doing, I was real familiar with. So I brought that authenticity to the screen. You know what I'm saying? That's why they wanted me out there.
Let me ask real quick though, did that kind of like give you kind of a feeling like what should I say? Like get it out of your system in a way. Like you're able to do it, pretend, but not have to fully engage and not have to put too much on the line. But in a way, you're still kind of doing it. Did it kind of get a little bit out of your system?
Yeah. So if I think I know where you're going with that, is that I lived it for real, and then I got to play the parts on TV, and then they were just parts, though they were made up parts.
Yeah. Instead of having to return to the streets and do it, like actually.
But I was still going back and forth, though. See, that's what I'm getting at, is that I didn't completely leave the lifestyle. I was still out there slanging dope, because though I was getting paid good for these videos, it wasn't an everyday thing. I wasn't out there working every day. You know what I'm saying? I would do a video, then I would go a month or two without it, and then I would do another one, and then I did back to back. Like I did Little Scrappy, Little John. That one, what's it called? Fuck, man, I can't remember the name
Like
of the
something
video.
they don't want none, or I
Yeah,
forgot. I know,
yeah. You don't want no problems.
yeah, yeah.
And then we end up doing that one, and I had a big role in that because we kind of redid a scene from like Training Day where we're sitting around the table, and that dude walks in, and so I'm like, hey, what's up, homie? You want to play? And I'm like, here, no, don't touch my cars. These are your cars right here, kind of thing. And then we had to make him look good because, you know, we're the gangsters or whatever, but he's the hero. You know what I'm saying? He's the star at the time. So what ended up happening was he hit me in the head with a bottle. The bottle was made out of sugar glass, so it's made to shatter. You know what I'm saying? So that was a big deal for me because I had a speaking role. Like I got to speak out, and people got to hear me talk, and then I got hit in the head, and so I had to take lumps again. And again, it was acting, because if it wasn't acting, it would have had a different outcome. But that was the biggest part for me, was to swallow my pride and take these lumps, take kind of like beat downs from people that I know that wouldn't be able to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I haven't lost a fight since I was in the 6th grade, and that's only because I didn't know that I wanted to fight this.
Yeah.
Because so I don't want to get in trouble. Ever since then, hey, bro, there's not a man that's walking this earth that could say that he beat me in a fight. You know what I'm saying? And so to be able to I had to swallow my pride and my ego and be like, man, but at the same time, I was getting paid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I got paid good for that. Then I did that Mob Deep video with Emilio Rivera. Danny Trejo was in there. Triggs was in there. You know what I'm saying? The homie Luis Mancaro, who's shout out to him. He's big on
Breaking Bad
on
and
Breaking Bad. Him and his brother Daniel, and now they got their own show with Better Call Saul. So that was like the crew that I ran with back then. You know what I'm saying? And you know, Emilio Rivera, like I said, and then Mob Deep. So when I did that gave us like a lot of coast to coast and then international. And at the time, you remember TRL?
Total Request Live.
Total Request Live. I want to say Carson Daly might have been the
he was the host.
The host. Well, there was a time when they used to do the top 10 videos, right?
Yeah.
It was called TRL Top 10. And I was on 3 of the top 10 videos at the same time.
Yeah.
And I had that Double XL magazine come out all around the same time. So that was probably like the peak of it. And then I realized, like, I'm doing this shit for real. And, you know, and I had a professionalism about me. So I didn't go in there acting a fool. So they kept calling me back, like, come on, you got, you know, we want you. We need that look, and we want, you know what I'm saying? And I was getting paid good money, man. Like, I'm talking like anywhere from $600-700 to like 2,000 just to be there all day and doing that gangster shit, you know?
Yeah.
But then that kept me busy. So I wasn't in the hood as much selling dope. I wasn't out there walking around with guns, and I sure wasn't getting shot at or risking my ass either. And I wasn't risking the worst thing that I wasn't even tripping on that. I was more tripping on like going back to jail, because I was like, I like it out here. I like this freedom. I had a freedom that I hadn't had before. And I was making money that I had never made before. I made a lot more money selling drugs, but I still had to watch my ass. I still had to risk myself. You know what I'm saying? You never know what's going to happen. And so being out there with, like doing this shit, being around people, celebrities, people that people know of, you know, and I just kind of walked right in there and found my place, you know. And then I got real tight with the whole Soul Assassins crew, Joker brand, you know, like I said, Stevan Oriol, Mr. Cartoon, like they gave me a lot of opportunity to be out there to do a lot of things with them, different magazines, different things, man. I just got exposed to so much, and I was like, man. But at the same time, when all that was over, I had to go back to my real life, and my real life was still in my hood because that's all I knew, you know. And so this was around 94. I won't get into details of the whole thing. Doesn't matter. I mean, I already did the time for it, but I ended up getting caught up because some people recognized me, and I think they were just hating on me, kind of my success, you know. And,
you said 94 or was it 2004?
I mean, excuse me, 2004. 94 was, we already talked about that. This was in 2004. And they were kind of hating on my success, you know. So these dudes ran up on me, and I was inside, you know, a hamburger spot in my hood, and they were outside just woofing, and they kept driving by, and I was like, I felt like they were putting my life in danger. So I went back to the only tactics that I knew, and I felt like I had to send a message like, don't fuck with me. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up gunning one of them down, you know what I'm saying? And they ended up telling on me. And then one of the dudes that was on my side that went with me, he ended up giving up information. And so I found myself caught up.
Damn.
And I went back to the county. And, you know, I ended up back in the game module again, but now it's single man sales and the whole game was just different. But I was getting recognized for different reasons.
Yeah.
People had magazines floating around. You know, there's magazines in jail, they're floating around, and they were like, what the fuck, you in this magazine? Double XL magazine and Source magazine and all this shit. Then when they would throw like in Wayside, you know, in East Max, they would throw, this was before I went to the game module. I was in East Max and they were throwing music videos up on the screen, and my music videos kept coming out. People were looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing in here? Like,
yeah.
Be out there doing all these things. And I knew that I had an opportunity that they didn't have. But I didn't know that if I was going to ever make it out, because I was facing a life sentence at the time, you know? So I felt at that time, I was like, damn, did I fuck up? Did I throw it all away? Like, I had this whole thing going for myself, and now I'm up in here because, you know, I felt like I went back to my old ways and I had to lay it down, and then I ended up getting told on. So I felt like I'm sitting there contemplating, like, man, these dudes, they wanted to start some shit with me, run up on me, and then when I got the best of them, they ended up telling on me, you know?
Yeah.
And then this dude that I trusted, he was with the business before that. That's why I called him, and then he ended up giving up some information that got me caught up. And so I'm sitting in there like, I'm getting it from my side, I'm getting it from the other side, and I got things to lose now. I was in a whole different aspect of life, and so I fought it for almost 2 years.
Damn.
And the one good thing is that as it goes, as some people know, the longer you go, the weaker your case can get, because people disappear, people move on, they change their mind, they forget, you know what I'm saying, whatever happens. And so it all fell on this one. There was this one chick. She was a witness at the time, and you know, she was pregnant. So they kind of like pressure her, like, oh, you got to say this and you got to say that, or you and your baby, you're gonna go to jail. Your baby's gonna go into the system, whatever. So
Yeah.
she was kind of spooked. So she made sure she cooperated. But then later on, like I said, almost 2 years later, it came up where she was like, I don't remember. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember
Yeah.
what happened. I can't for sure say it was him. And so my lawyer sent a private investigator, got talked to her, and got a statement from her saying that the cops were like pressuring her to say it was me and this and that. I mean, they picked me out of a 6-pack lineup. You know, these dudes on the other side, man, these rivals, man, they were giving me up. You know what I'm saying? And I just didn't know what part of the game that was. I was just like, fuck, man, what am I
so unfamiliar?
Yeah, it was unfamiliar. Like I didn't realize I hadn't been in that position before, because I was just out there doing.
Hold on.
They pointed me out of the 6-pack lineup. They signed their name, initialed it, all that shit.
Damn.
So then the chick ended up saying that she didn't remember, and that gave me action. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah. And Mr. Cartoon, he had this lawyer that he used to do tats on, and then he told him about my case, him and Esteban Orio, and kind of got him put on my case. And then from there, I ended up, I got this lawyer. I went through like 5 lawyers. I ended up paying this dude like all my dope money and my legit money that I made from doing music videos that I still had. And then I had like 4 cars at the time, and I signed all my shit over to this dude because he was a legit, he was like a, what do they call that? He was a criminal specialist, you know, he had like his name. He was also in magazines as like attorney of the year kind of thing. I mean, this dude was top notch. Let me think of his name. Man, I can't remember his name for some reason.
Real quick, you're not gonna see my my video anymore because my camera died, but I'm still here.
Okay, all right, but you can see me. Is that what it is?
I can still see you. Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. So yeah, you're on freeze frame on my side, so we're all good. But yeah, he ended up you know, they ended up talking to this lawyer for me, and they got him. They were like, hey, my homie's in a jam or whatever. So then this dude pulled up. He had, you know, his Armani suit and his gaiters and his fucking his shades, whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this dude's about his money. He had a platinum Rolex on. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay. But he came and he was legit, man. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, this shit's weak. We're gonna get this. He had like a whole team. He had a whole firm. And his name was Craig Wormley.
Okay.
Craig T. Wormley, I want to say. And so anyways, he went through the process, and they were trying to offer me. I mean, I was facing, it was like 99 years with double life. And the reason
Damn.
why is because of all the enhancements, prison priors, gang enhancements, gun enhancements. The crime itself carried life, and then my 3 strikes. So what they ended up doing was they pulled up some juvenile stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then they used that as a strikeable offense. Then when I went in there the first time in prison for that great bodily injury, they used that as a second strike. So this third one also carried a violent strike. So that carried a life sentence in itself. So everything doubled and all whatever. So he ended up getting my life dropped, but I was still facing like 45 years. And I was like, man, what's up with the deal, And
Yeah.
the DA was like, okay, if you sign over 27 years, we'll give you a deal. That was my deal. And
Damn.
I was like, you know what? I said, they're going to have to come take 27 years for you. I'm not going to give them that. I'm not going to sign my shit over for 27 years, man. That's crazy. So when that girl switched her story up and was like, I don't remember anything, and the other 2 dudes, they stopped telling and people were disappearing or whatever, I started getting action. So what ended up happening was I was prepared to go in there and take 7 years as a deal. And my lawyer went in there and talked the DA down and ended up getting a deal for 5 years.
Oh shit.
So I had to take 5 years, but I also had to take the strike and so on. And so that's something else that I had hanging over me. And then I ended up doing 4 years. And when I did 4 years. I went to a level 4 180 yard. I opened up D yard in Kern Valley, New Delano. I don't know what's up with that yard now, but at the time when we got up there, it was brand new. Nobody had ever lived in that cell before. It was brand new. So we had to establish everything, all the tables, all the phones, all the showers, all the, everything. So I ended up doing there. And while I was there, my mentality was different. I saw music videos and magazines and all this that I was in, and people were in, and they were seeing me, and they were, believe it or not, I was a short timer. When you're on a level 4 180 yard, there's a lot of people stretched out or lifers.
Yeah.
I want to say like 80% of people may never see the time of day or the light of day again.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm a short timer. I had already had 2 years in, and then when I got up there, I got 2 years left. They're like, oh man, you basically walking out the door. So my short time was there, but I still got to feel what it was like being there. And that's when I realized that I didn't want that anymore. And so I went back, and I my whole life flashed through me. As they say, your life flashes before your eyes, right?
Yeah.
I was 30 years old, and I had already spent half of my life in there. I had already done 15 years total, from juvenile hall, camps, YAs, and then prison again. Added up to 15 years. So when I was 30 years old, half of my life had been incarcerated. And I remember thinking back when I was 13, 14, when I first started getting tattoos, I would see older homies or older heads of people that I knew that were getting out of prison tatted up, and everybody looked up to them. Oh man, the homie got out. He got out. They had, style. Everybody respected him. And I always wondered, what was it like in there? What was it like in camp? I went to camp. What was it like in YA? I went to YA. What was it like in the county jail? I went to the county jail. What was it like in the game module? Boom, I went to the game module. What was it like in prison? Boom, I went to prison. But the first time I was in prison, I was young. It was during my college years, and it was a level 3 yard. So it might have been a little easy because I knew there was more to see. You know what I'm saying? And so when I was finally in there in a level 4 180 yard, that's the highest level yard there is. And there's only so many of them in California. Yeah. And I was in one of them. And though we were a brand new yard, they were also bringing people over from other 180 yards, and they had their stuff established. So I was able to see how things were going. And and I realized, like, you know what? I saw all I came to see. I basically did the whole walk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's nothing else for me to see other than never having a date to be able to get out.
Oh,
And
fuck
so
that,
once
though.
I was in there, yeah, fuck that. So once I was in there, I got told on by my enemies. I got told on by one of my homies. Um, I had my kids. I had 3 kids at the time. So they were already like, where's my dad and what's going on, asking questions about me. Everything just hit me. So I started switching up everything. I started taking college courses, learning about uh, business like franchising, business management. And again, I was doing tattoos there. That was how I supported myself. But I was doing so good that I was sending money out. I was sending money home. You know what I'm saying? And like, if there's only 2 things that really you can do that with in jail, and that's if you're slanging dope or if you're doing tats. And I didn't fuck with dope. I didn't do it, and I didn't slang it while I was in there because
Yeah.
there's just too much bullshit behind it. But doing tattoos, that was an art form. You know what I'm saying? So I had people coming to my cell, spending the night. I would do all-nighters with people, you know what I'm saying? Drink my little Cadillacs or whatever and just be up. Or I'd be drawing, or I'd be tattooing tumblers or paños. I'd be, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
drawing
yeah.
paños, selling all that shit. And making my money. And also I gamble in sports, football, basketball. So I was putting money up, doing squares, doing tickets, whatever. So, and I was pretty good at it. I would win way more than I lost. So I did good in there. And then I would spend my time. I didn't let the time do me. I did my time. I would go out. I would work out every time I hit the yard. I would work out, or I'd be playing basketball. And whenever I was in my cell, I'd be art, drawing. I didn't really watch too much TV. But when I did watch TV, I would watch, because I had already been in that environment.
Yeah.
I would watch certain TV shows, and then I would see the roles that were being played, and then I would picture myself playing these roles. So I'm like, man, I can do CSI, I can do NCIS, I can do Law and Order. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then other people were like, they would tell me like, oh man, I saw you on this show. I saw you on this. I mean, I could see you on this show. I could see you doing these roles. So other people were telling me the same thing. And I ended up getting out, right?
Yeah.
When I got out, I went straight to a Soul Assassin studio where Joker Brand is, Esteban and Cartoon. I had to, thank them for getting that lawyer involved and just everything that they did. They were sending me magazines while I was in there. They would actually like write to me and send me pictures.
That's dope.
And hell yeah, man. Those are my homie, man. Especially Esteban, man. Me and him got real tight over the years. Me and Cartoon got cool too, but he's, he was busy doing his own thing, but we're cool. We see each other. We're cool. But Esteban's like family, you know what I'm saying? And so I went straight to him. I told him anything you need, you know what I'm saying? You got music videos going on. You want me to bust down with magazines, whatever. I felt kind of indebted to him. Not that I owed him, but just that I wanted to redo the favors, you know what I'm saying? And make myself available for him. But it also, gave me something to look forward to, so that I didn't have to go back to the hood life and the street life only. So then I started just doing different things. I ended up getting married. I was married for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Then I took acting serious. I took an acting class at El Camino College to get my like the skills up and really learn what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like not just go out there and be a fool, but actually like to like master the craft of how to perform. I took like a theater class where in theater, there's no room for error. Like you're in front of a live crowd, so you can't fuck up. And if you do, you have to continue. Like you can't stumble, so you have to just pick up. You got to ad lib. You got to, you can't, you can't put your back to it's called upstaging yourself. You can't put your back to the crowd. You always have to face the crowd, which taught me how to always face the camera, but you can't make eye contact. You have to look, make sure you don't watch the camera. The crowd, I learned how to do it in front of a live crowd. And to me, when I see the camera is in the lens. I mean, the crowd is in the lens of the camera. So whenever I know the camera's there, I feel like that's the crowd and I have to avoid that. And so I learned just mannerisms, how to stand, how to talk, how to do a lot of things. I still worked out. I kept myself in shape. I stopped drinking milk. Then I stopped eating meat. All kinds of things, you know what I'm saying? Like, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Could you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, I started taking care of myself healthy. I started cutting out all kinds of things in my life. I started, like, I drank for a while, then I cut it out. I cut out beer, cut out alcohol, cut out soda. Like, I don't do none of that shit, man. Just toxins in my body. Took a nutrition class. I learned how to do that. Then I ended up joining the SAG union. And the reason why I did that is because I got an agent, and my agent booked me for a job. And in order for me to do that job, I had to be union. So in order for you to do like these CISs and these NCISs and CSIs and whatever, you have to be part of the SAG union. And now it's SAG after. They used to be two unions and they ended up merging. But I got into SAG, man, I want to say it was like 1,700 at the time. And it went up to, I think it's like 3,500 to join now. But I got in at a certain time. And then I ended up getting these roles. And so I ended up getting on CSI. I ended up doing NCIS. I ended up doing Southland. I ended up doing, I was even on Glee as a tattoo artist. You know, I ended up doing, and I met all these like celebrities, you know what I'm saying? And then I got into movies, and then I started doing movies. I ended up doing this movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I did my own stunts. I got into a shootout with him, and he killed me, and I flipped over this table. It's called Sabotage. So you can look at it. I come out at the end. Also, Luis Mancaro, Carlos Ayala, Daniel Mancaro, all the regulars, man, were in there playing like sicarios in a cartel or whatever. So it just ended up being fun. I ended up working with Danny Trejo on a movie. Man, I've worked with him on a few things. Bullet was one of the movies that I ended up working with him. I was against him though because he played a cop, so I was on the side with Jonathan Banks, who was also in. I want to say he was also in Breaking Bad. So.
All right.
Yeah,
yeah. He was, I forgot his name. Well, yeah, that's.
Well, he was Kane in Bullet. In the movie Bullet, but on Breaking Bad, yeah, I forgot his name too. But anyway,
Mike,
there you go. So I ended up working with him, and I played his one of his goons, his thug, one of his gunmen. So then I ended up meeting all kinds of people in music videos. I did a movie called Christmas in Compton. It had Keith David, Eric Roberts, Omar Gooding. You know what I'm saying? All these people, man, that I started meeting, and I was just like, man, like I carried myself like a true professional. And you know, they ended up throwing my name around. They're like, oh, you know, this guy Trouble, whatever. So people would come to me and be like, oh, they were talking about you, whatever. And it just felt good because I was leaving an impactful impression on people. People would call me up and they're like, oh man, I seen you on this, I seen you on that. And I mean, I can't even sit here and tell you all the stuff I've been on because I've been in probably over 40 music videos. Probably, you know, close to like 25, 30 TV shows and movies combined. I did a voice on GTA 5.
That's dope.
Yeah, man, I did a bunch of things, man, and it just gave me a whole different way of going about things. Because you had mentioned if it gave me like an outlet kind of like doing gangster shit, but not getting caught up for it. And, you know what I'm saying? That was the main thing because I ended up like going out there and I started outgrowing a lot of the things that I was doing and dressing different, but they would want me to still, you know, dress like that and act like that on the screen. And that's where the acting came in because I wasn't living like that anymore. I wasn't high speed chases, and I have been in real high speed chases and got away for real. And now I'm doing it on TV. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to jail. Shit, man, since I got out in 2009, I've been out since, man. That's 11 years. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I haven't seen the inside of a jail since then because I just I turned the tables in my favor, man. I like to tell people how, you know, I used what I could because everybody expected me to fail, especially when I started. Like in the 90s, I started tatting my face and my head and sleeves, and people were like, what are you going to do? And I didn't even think I was going to make it. I'm going to be 45 already, man. I didn't think I was going to make it past 25. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Like, that's just real. So, you know, that's kind of been my journey. There's a lot more to it. I mean, I could get into other details, but that was kind of like how I turned everything around in my favor and used what I had. I couldn't take my tattoos off because I have too many. You know, I couldn't really do too many other things other than, you know, doing tattoos for real, like for professionals. So I still did that. But even in 2009, 2010, I think was the last time I did any professional tattoos. And the reason why I don't do them anymore is because my age caught up to me. And as I was saying earlier, like I was always a fighter, a brawler. And so my hands are all scarred up. And And as I
Yeah.
got older, like my hands are, I wake up with pain in my hands. Like I got like arthritis and whatever. Like I can still hit, I can still lay them blows, but I couldn't tattoo the same way. It takes so much detail and precision. And I didn't want to fuck anybody up, you know, and I would do tattoos and then my hand would be like, it would hurt like for days, you know what I'm saying? Like I just felt like I wasn't the same. I couldn't contribute the same anymore. So I just kind of hung it up, man. I retired
Damn.
and kind of left it at that, you know what I'm saying? And so I just been all on that. And then in 2010, you know, I hadn't mentioned this before, but in 2010, I started my own dog breeding bloodline.
Oh
And
shit.
so that's what I got on my shirt right here is Connected Bullies. And so that's what I focus on every day. I got these dogs, man. And if you go to my page on Instagram or Facebook or even my website, connectedbullydynasty.com, and you can see what I'm doing with my dogs. I breed them. They're more companions. They're not, you know, they're not aggressive. You know, they're more of a companion breed. They're protective, but they don't fight. I don't fight them. But I started putting my dogs in music videos and in movies.
Oh, that's tight.
And so you can see, yeah, and in magazines. And, you know, Esteban was like, hey, bring one of your dogs down. You know, we got this and that going on. And so I ended up doing a bunch of stuff with them and just, you know, that kind of brought some notoriety to me and my dogs. And now I just breed. I'm on my going on my 7th generation of my bloodline. You know, I work with colors, with structures. I'm making them really small, tiny, like micros, so you can see.
Shit.
Like I went from 120-pound dogs to now I'm down to like 30-pound dogs, 35-pound dogs of the same line, but I just shrunk them down size-wise. You know,
that's crazy.
So yeah, so that's what I've been working on for the last 10 years straight. And I was born into a house with a dog, and I've had dogs all my life, even before sports, before gangs, before tattoos, before any of that. I've been around dogs. And so my dogs, they help me stay occupied, keep my brain occupied. You know, they always need me to let them out, to do this, to do that. And so I wake up every day and that's my focus. Like, oh, okay, I got to let my dogs out. I got to do this. My female's going to heat. I breed them. Hi, mama. I breed them. And then, you know what I'm saying? That's what I do with them. So I concentrate on that. That's been my focus. And I've been, you know, if you look up Connected Bullies, I have 10 years established on that, but I'm growing that, you know. And then I started training other people how to do movies, and I started kind of managing people for a while, like getting them into music videos. And I was getting people that had like lowrider cars and lowrider bikes, getting them into music videos, movies, magazine shoots, graffiti artists to do like backdrops on scenes, getting models, guys, girls tatted up. You saw the elements of like the street life, and I was bringing it to, you know, authenticity to what I was doing. And I, you know, I'm professional, so I expect when I hire them and I bring them in, that they're gonna keep professional. And some people, they come in, they want to act like fools, they want to be set tripping on set. You know, and I'm like, nah, you like, this ain't it. You know what I'm saying? You got to do that elsewhere. Like I was once there, so I know, like, trust me, I know. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to understand that it's not always about that. And if you go to jail and you end up having to sit across the table from one of your enemies that you might have been fighting with or shooting at one time, that gives you a whole nother perspective on life. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I got to kind of get this dude's back if he gets into some shit, when we would have been shooting at each other or fighting years ago. So taking that mentality, being out. And I think that was my rehabilitation, was my second time in prison. I rehabilitated myself.
Damn.
By understanding that if I can sit here with this dude from another hood while I'm in here, then when I get out, if I'm going to trip on this dude, then I'm kind of backstabbing this dude because I was cool with him here. How am I going to not be cool with him down the line? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you have to look at it. Everything is about loyalty, betrayal, you know, and that plays a big part of it. So I kind of just distanced myself. You know, I came out, I got my respect in my hood. Nobody can question what I've done or where I've been or my name. Not all of my homies support me in what I'm doing now because they want me to be over there in the hood, kind of guiding them through things and kind of running some stuff and being involved. And that's just not me. Like if I push through there, I'll say my what's ups and, you know what I'm saying, and shake hands or whatever, but I just keep it pushing, homie, because I got too much to lose. I
Yeah.
got so much else going on. So what I go over there and do is like, look, you could be up there doing what I'm doing. I could bring you into a movie. I can bring you into a photo shoot, a music video. I can get you wearing somebody else's clothes and getting paid for that. A lot of them don't want to do it. They want to stay stuck where they're at. So I'm like, all right, well, you know what I'm saying? You could stay stuck if you want to, but I'm not going to stay stuck over here. You know what I'm saying? And I look at them like, look, well, if I can do it, I'm more tatted up than all you dudes. If I can do it, don't tell me it can't be done. You want to do it. You want to be over here acting a fool. You want to be over here on drugs. You want to be over here with the excuses like I don't have chances. That's bullshit. I'm living proof that you can do it, because I'm telling you, I was one of the worst of the worst. And you know, I didn't fuck with people that didn't have it coming. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't out there robbing innocent people. If you weren't part of my world, you were a blur to me. Like I didn't even focus on you. If you weren't a gangbanger, if you weren't out there slanging dope or buying dope or whatever it was, like you weren't even on my radar. I would just blur you out. But so I knew what it was to be nothing but that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me to go through the whole system, I went through the whole thing, the whole walk. Like there's nothing left for me to do. Like what can I do? The only thing I could do is be stuck in prison. And I still have homies that are in there now, that were in there when I was in there, or got sent in there after. They still support me and tell me like, man, I seen you on TV, man, keep doing your thing. You're making us proud. Like I tell everybody I know, that's the homie. I know him. Like he was here, or I grew up with him, or whatever it is. So that gives me even more motivation to make sure that I keep going, I keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? Like my name is good. It's always going to be good. Nobody can question that. If they do, they could look me up. They could do what they got to do. They're going to find nothing but solid, homie, because I'm solid. It never crumbles. You know what I'm saying? No matter what I'm doing,
sir.
you know, I keep that shit solid. So that's where it's at now, you know, and really I might have put a little bit of glamour and kind of like made it sound like it was the business. And at one time it was, because that's all I knew. But, you know, I grew up during the decade of death, which is from 88 to 98. There was more murders and more deaths during that time than any other decade ever. And it was because the gang violence, you know, we got more violent. The guns got bigger. But then what ended up happening, we talked about it earlier, was the strike laws. You know, when certain drugs hit the streets, like when crystal meth, when that shit came around to it fucked a lot of shit up. You know, the strike laws, the way they just stretch people out, they can enhance. And that's why, I don't know if you've been watching any of the politics that go on, but I've been, you know, I caught this one dude, his name is Gascon. He's the new like district attorney.
Yeah.
And he wants to do away with all the enhancements and the extended sentencing. And the cops, the judges, they're all mad at him. The prisons, they're all mad at him, saying that, you know, he's going to let people off too easy. But what it really is that they don't have that as a scare tactic. Because what they would do is say, okay, you're facing 45 years and your boy's over there telling on you. And people were like, fuck that, he did it, not me, kind of thing. And then they end up using that as leverage to get them to tell on themselves, or to tell on somebody else, or to just give them information they didn't have before. And if they catch these dudes high on meth, these dudes are just chirping away like birds. You know, they use all of that against everybody. But the main thing, the one thing that I want to tell people why it's not the business to be out there doing dirt, the main thing, there's cameras everywhere. There's cameras on your phone. Everybody has a phone. If you can learn one thing from, like, let's say, shout out to World Star Hip Hop, to Q, rest in peace. If you can learn one thing from that, people are quick to pull their phone out when they see action. Oh, World Star. And they don't realize that they're telling on people. They see somebody beat somebody down and they get it on camera. They want to be cool and post it. Like what I saw. But the cops, the feds, everybody, they're watching this shit too. And they're like, okay, well, we see that too. And now we know who did what, who's doing what. So people are quick to pull their cameras out. And you can't get away with none. You can't be out there doing dirt. You can't be out there slanging on the corner. You can't be out there shooting them up. You can't do it. You're going to get caught.
Yeah, even with the what you call it too, when you carry your phone, you that shit records everything too. Like if you get a message at a certain time, or you get a missed call or whatever, like there's a record of that shit. They fucking subpoena your phone records, they'll be like, you said you weren't there, but your phone was there.
Yes, sir. So your towers, the phone bounces off the towers in the area that you were in. So like you said, if you're in that area and you're making a phone call and you're staking out a spot, or you're calling up your homies like, oh, it's clear, come through, whatever, and then you say, like you said, you're not there, they know you were there because it bounces off all the towers in the area. But another thing is that all the businesses and the buildings, they have cameras on them outside. Also the ATM machines, that when there's banks and then they have ATM machines and they're catching people on camera doing their thing, but they're watching when there's nobody standing in front of it, the camera's still on. That shit runs all the time. And they're able to watch people rob people, shoot people. They're able to see car accidents. There's just too much. People are looking at it like, oh, we're in the technology age, so now we have all this going on with technology, but it's also working against you because there's no more privacy. Your phone records you. You mentioned that your phone is recording you whether you're on it or not. So like the back of your camera, the front of your camera, selfie mode, even like your microphone, when you give apps like Instagram and Facebook, when you give them permission to use your camera, to use your microphone, they can tap into your phone whenever they want, bro. You don't have any privacy. So no matter what you think you're getting away with, if you think you're getting away with it, it's because they're letting you get away with it because they're waiting for you to do something big, or they're waiting for you to lead them to something bigger. There's really no way to go. There's no reason to go about that. Like there's too much to lose. There's too much evidence. Oh, also the DNA. Like if you leave DNA, you know what I'm saying? If you're leaking blood or spit or anything, if you're leaking, they have DNA. They have fingerprints. They have all the forensics, all that. I mean, if you watch all those shows, man, watch all those like murder tapes and See No Evil and all those shows, man, they're showing you how they're catching people. Oh, we see you on camera. You left your saliva. You left some blood right there. Your camera was on this tower. All the things that we're talking about, they use all that against you. And next thing you know, you're just caught up. But the main thing that I want to get at is that there's so many other things that we could be doing. You know what I'm saying? There's so many opportunities for us. So if people are still out there stuck in the hood, it's because that's what they want to do, because they're not looking for ways out. Like they're drawing on shoes and selling them online. If you're an artist, like you could be drawing on stuff, you could paint, you could become a photographer. You could be, man, even graffiti artists are getting paid to mural on side of buildings, man, because people want beautiful murals on their buildings. And you know what I'm saying? And they're giving people an outlet for them to.
You know what's the trip is that out of all the people all the people I interviewed, most of them have been out, right? And they've all used their talents for something else. You got a homie, Beaver from Northside Bowling. He does comedy. He turns his pain into comedy, right? You have a few homies that are doing tattooing. Boy Diablo from Venice and my boy Potro from my neighborhood. They're chefs.
Nice.
It's like you have homies that have different passions, and like you're saying, like all you have to do is follow your heart, follow your passion, and it will
tap
lead
in.
you. Yeah,
that's it. And social media gives us like the opportunity to link with people that we wouldn't have been able to link with them before. You know what I'm saying? People can link with me that I would have been untouchable. Other people are out there. All you got to do is reach out and say, hey, what's up, man? I'm thinking about doing this. Like, you got any pointers? People hit me up all the time. Like, hey, if I wanted to do this or do that, like, how would I go about it? And I let them know. I said, you can't just jump right in. You gotta start somewhere, but don't give up. Especially when it gets rough and people are telling you, nah, whatever, like keep going, push it. Like you said, there's chefs. There's so many things you could be doing, man. You just got to find, like, what do you like doing? What do you do on your own time? What do you like playing video games, man? There's jobs for you.
I'm not lying,
video
dog.
game tester, man. You
I'm
know
not
what I'm saying?
lying.
Like
one of the homies, I want to interview him too, because he came out of YA. He went to the joint. He's a fucking gamer. Like he's a game streamer. It's like I didn't even know you could fucking make money like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, like you said, there's so much out there.
You can program, you could build websites, you can program apps, you can develop video games, you can even test video games. They even have food testers. Like there's so many things that you could be doing. You can build cars and flip them. There's so many things that you could be doing. And the way the laws are, the way that the cameras are, the way that everything is set up to just for against you if you're in that, you know what I'm saying? Because look, if you're going to be a rebel, you're going to be a rebel, and that's it. But you don't got to be out there risking your ass and going against the odds, especially when it's not worth it, because there's nothing really out there. You know what I'm saying? At the end of that, like, I can tell you right now where you're going to end up, and I can tell you what it's like, and I can tell you the insides and outs of all the stuff that's going on. I see homies that are just homeless now. They live under bridges. They're doped up. They don't have any, you know what I'm saying? They're gone. But you still got some years ahead of you, and you still got your sense, and you're not gone, man. You got to find something. You got to find your way, man. You can't just sit there and let life fuck you up. You can't get beat up, and you sure can't just be out there like lost. You know what I'm saying? There's so many opportunities. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. There's so many things that you could be out there doing. So you got to find what's good for you, what works, what'll get you up every day and make you do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Motivate you. I get so much motivation. And so, you know what I'm saying? We can end up cutting this short, because I kind of told my whole story. But look, the thing right now is that Hollywood is they're struggling. You know what I'm saying? Because we got this COVID thing, which we haven't even mentioned once yet, but I'm gonna bring it up. This COVID thing, the way how there's, you know, people that are getting sick or whatever, it's contagious. They're not allowing movie sets to work. Like, there's big ones, and then they're having problems. Like, I don't know if you saw, but Tom Cruise is going off on people on his set
Like
because
Mission Impossible,
they're
yeah.
just walking around. Yeah, no masks on. They're just all up on each other. Like, they're not taking it serious. And so I'm not getting opportunities to be out there working on sets and working on movies or any of that because of the contagiousness, the germs, the virus that's going on. So what that did was that helped me to hone in more even on my own personal self and got into more business. So I'm about to turn my dog. It's really a hobby turned obsession turned business. So I'm about to, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to make it a legit business. I'm about to have, you know what I'm saying, like the all out business and expand. I want to have LLC corporations with subsidiaries, and I want to have, you know what I'm saying, California money paying Las Vegas taxes and those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? I want to do tax exemptions. I want to do all that, man. There's so many things you could be doing out there. Like, why are you stuck in the hood watching, you know what I'm saying? And then there's little homies out there who look at like older homies in the hood, and they look up to them, and they're like, oh, that's my older homie. And why you look up to him? If he was doing all that, he would be out doing something else. He would be telling you, why you here, stuck here? Don't be like me. Or he would have his shit together, and you would be out there doing something else. You know what I'm saying? But you got these youngsters looking up to these dudes like, look, the hood's always going to be there. And there's always going to be somebody there in the hood to hold it down. And you can count on that, whether it be in my city in Hawthorne or where you're from in El Monte or whatever the fuck, any area you're from, there's always going to be that going on. But you don't have to be stuck there doing it. You know what I'm saying? If you got to go out and find your way, and then what you want to do is pull your homies up with you. Pull them up. The ones that you trust, the ones that you know got your back, or that you feel like they're with you, your circle, bring them and start a business, start a t-shirt business, start slanging shoes or whatever you got to do. Like, open up a tattoo shop, like open up a restaurant, get a taco truck, like, man, whatever the fuck you want to do. But if you don't know what to do, bring your homies. And then next thing you know, you got homies and all you guys got different skills. And now you're all like formed together like Voltron, like taking care of business because you all got different skills, different talents, different eyes. And if you work together, that's a team. And I know you've heard it before, but teamwork makes the dream work, man. And you got to work. So you could be out there in the hood waiting for the bullshit to happen and then respond to that, or you could get up out of there and pull your homies with you and then turn around and end up, you know, kicking back to the hood. You know what I'm saying? Helping make it better. You know what I'm saying? When
I was in Wire, they used to say this thing. They said it clowning a lot, but there's a lot of truth to it, right? They say, don't go out, that's it. Don't fuck up. You know what I mean? Like don't break, right? And I fucking take that shit to heart out here on the streets, because out here it's like life tries to break you sometimes. Life tries to destroy you, right? Life, like at times, like you said, it could make you crumble. It could break you. You're like, fuck, I don't have nothing. What are you gonna do? Like you said, you're gonna make excuses. You're gonna go out there and say, oh man, I came from a fucked up background and whatever. Like, dog, don't go out. That's it. You know what I mean?
Don't go out.
Go get what you got to get.
That's it, man. You're not supposed to let life beat you up. Like, you're gonna have obstacles. It's a rough road, you know what I'm saying? And some rougher than others. Like, anybody tries to tell me like their upbringing was rough, like, okay, well, let's compare. You know what I'm saying? Let me compare your life to my life and let's see, because I made it out and I saw the worst of the worst and I did the worst of the worst. And here I am. So if anything, use me as an example. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that somebody could tell me that they don't have opportunities, because here I am. I did drugs. I'm blasted up. I got my face, my neck, you know what I'm saying? My head, my hands. There's no excuses. Man, you just got to find your way. You know what I'm saying? You got to find what motivates you. You got to find what you're good at, and you got to find what makes money. And then you got to tie all that in together, and then you got to find your way. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Like, look at you, man. You're interviewing people. This is your motivation. Me and you've been trying to set this date up for a minute. You know, we're busy. We got things going on. We finally made it happen. But look at you. You're doing something that you like, you're passionate about. And what you're doing is bringing out stories from people so they can turn around and tell their stories so other people can hear it and understand that there are better ways to go about doing things. I'm not telling nobody to go out like a punk. I'm not telling nobody to go out backwards. I'm not telling, tuck your tail and run away. Like, nah, you got to stand up for yourself and be a man. But that also means holding it down, finding a purpose, having something to lose, letting the homies know, like, look, this is what I'm going to get into. What's up? Let's do this. Let's get into it, instead of them kind of, trying to put you down like that. That's how you feel. Okay, well, fuck it. You could stay here. I'm going to go get it. And when you see me getting it, you're going to want to get it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's enough for all of us. So let's get it together.
There's enough. There's more than enough, So that's where I'm at. And then, so, with my dogs, like, back to my dogs, this lockdown, the quarantine has kind of opened up new opportunities for my dogs, because more people are hitting me up because they're home now. Their kids are home. They want like companions for their house. They want, dogs make people happy, man. My dogs bring me joy every day. I see them, they wag their tail, you know what I'm saying? They give me purpose. They kind of open up things that I didn't know that I had. Like I said, one of my kids, they opened up something before that I didn't have. And then my dogs opened up something. So now I gotta care for them. I gotta take care of them. I gotta feed them. I gotta support them. I gotta walk them. I gotta exercise them, or they're gonna give me the shit. They're gonna cry and whine and make sure that they let me know when I'm slipping. You know what I'm saying? And so, but then at the end of the day, I got badass dogs. So I like what I see, and I just happen to make it, and other people like them too. So people looking for dogs out there, you know what I'm saying, hit me up.
And we'll drop the website, the link to your website and the your Instagram. We'll drop it on the link below. That way, if anyone is like how to get in contact with them, click on those links and you'll be able to go straight directly over there.
Okay, that's what's up. Let's check out the t-shirt so you can see Connected Bullies. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're at. Look us up on all platforms, man. And I got, partners in other states, other countries, man, and they're helping me, build a winning team. You know what I'm saying? And all the stuff that I learned in the streets, how to sell dope, how to move product. That's basically what I'm doing now. It's just that my thing is dogs, man. My dogs are legit, but it's legit. It's not. See, let me tell you a story. Quick story. So one day I was driving with one of my dogs, and I had to go get her tested, right, for a progesterone test, which is finding when they're ready to breed. But so I was trying to get there at a certain time, and I was speeding, and I had my van, I had my transport van, so I had a dog in there, and the cops got behind me, right? So they got behind me, and I'm like, man, here we go. So they pulled me over. They're like, hey, you going kind of fast there. What's up, man? And I'm like, nah, what's up? I'm good. And at the time, I didn't have L's, so I was sweating it. And they were like, what are you up to? And I was like, I'm taking my dog to go get tested. And they're looking in my car, and they see my dog, and then their whole demeanor changed. They're like, damn, that's a badass dog. And what kind of dog is that? And they started taking pictures of it and whatever. And I'm like, yeah. And little do they know, this dog is worth about $6-7 grand, right?
Damn.
So I'm like, and in my head, I'm thinking, you know what? If it would have been years ago, and I would have been caught with like a pound of something, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, like, it would have been the same worth. That it would have been worth, $6-7 grand. But if I would have got pulled over and the cops would have found that, it would have been a whole different thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
they'd
saying?
be taking pictures, but for another reason.
Yeah, they would have been taking pictures for evidence, and they would have been booking my ass. You see what I'm saying? So to me, it just, all the things that I had. Look, I was raised in the streets, but I was schooled in the system, and I used all of that to strengthen me now. Like
Hell yeah.
anybody that thinks that I'm not about that or wants to run up on me thinking it ain't gonna happen, like I'll still lay a motherfucker out, but I won't just. I'm not out there looking for that, man. Somebody has to threaten me or threaten my family or come within my, you know, my area, man, and put threat to my immediate life. Other than that, I don't really have time. Like I got so much shit going on. You know what I'm saying? So I learned I learned how to sell drugs in the streets, and that taught me business. If you know how to sell drugs, you can sell anything, because what it does is it teaches you product. It teaches you got to buy low, you got to sell high, and that's your profit. And then what you do with that is when you get your profit, you go back and you re-up. So every time I sell a dog, a puppy, whatever, then I'm putting money back into my system, into my program. I might go buy another dog. I might have to buy dog food. That's my biggest expense. I spend like $500-600 on dog food every month. You know what I'm saying? Damn. So I turn around and all that goes back into it. And to me, that's just re-upping on my product. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like people might see me and they're like, oh, that's just another gangster with pit bulls and whatever. It's not even like that. Like they have to see, like, my dogs, you gotta be more worried about me than my dogs, because my dogs they're nice, they're sweet. They still have that look, that little pit bull look, but that's not what they're about. You know what I'm saying? American Bully is a brand new breed. It's I say brand new because other breeds have been out for 100 years, 200 years, some of them 500, 1,000 years. This breed is officially only about 15 years old. Damn. You know what I'm saying? There's a few of us that have been working real hard to get this breed where it is. And you know what I'm saying? Shout out to all my bully folks out there, man. You know what I'm saying? They know who they are, and they're going to see this and they're going to know, you know what I'm saying? They're going to learn some things about me they didn't even know. But, you know what I'm saying? I'm professional. I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if Hollywood's going to ever get back to where it was. And, you know, I'm older now, so my roles are going to be different. So if you ever see me back out there, it might be different, man. I might play, you know, like a boss in a suit or something instead of like a gangbang on the corner, you know, something along those lines. But for now, man, I'm all business, man. You know what I'm saying? My dogs and all the things that revolve around that. You know what I'm saying? Got my kids. I'm about to be, look, I just had my first grandchild, and they're coming in order. So my first child had my first grandchild in August. My second child, man. Thank you. My second child is having my second grandchild due in about 2 or 3 weeks. And then my third child is having, well, his girl, because my boy, his girl is having my third grandchild next summer. So by the time I turn 45 next summer, I'm going to be a 3 times grandpa. That's something that I never thought that I was going to say. I couldn't even see myself being a dad. I'm about to be a 3 times grandpa, bro. Like, I just got so much to lose. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you got an empire to build too. You know what I mean? That's an empire to build to leave behind to those grandkids. So
I don't even know, man. I have to leave them something, because if I disappear, okay, my name might go down as legendary and whatever, but that don't leave anything to the people that are looking up to me, that expect me to be there to protect them, to leave them something. Like, I have to leave a legacy behind, whether it be in the entertainment business or in the dog business, or it may be even in something that I don't even know yet. You know what I'm saying? Because 45 is still young. I plan to live at least double that, and I plan to accomplish a lot of things. So you never know where you might see me next. You know what I'm saying?
That's
where we're at. So,
well, I appreciate that, Gene. I appreciate your time. Thank you for chopping it up with us. You have a remarkable story, and I'm glad man. And I know we're like you said, we're going to see you. We're going to see you again, and you're going to
you're going to see me. You definitely ain't seen the last of me, man. You know what I'm saying? Some people call me Trouble. A lot of more people are calling me Chris now, because that's my real name, and I'm more accepting of that. So, you know what I'm saying? You can look me up on that. Thank you for having me, Javier, man. It's been a pleasure. You know what I'm saying? I know we've been trying to do this for a minute, but hopefully, you know what I'm saying, it brings your channel and what you're doing a lot of notoriety, and gets you out there more too, and just, you know what I'm saying, and sharing the stories, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's up.
Oh, yeah. With that being said, we out. Peace.
There it is, homie. Straight up.